Buckle up, boys. Time to go to work.
You have people all over the world taking pay cuts, losing their jobs, losing their lives.
If I'm going to play, I should be getting the money I signed to be getting paid.
It's always about money.
So remarkably tone deaf.
I'm not playing unless I get mine.
I'm talking.
On top of that, it's getting taxed.
If you want 1994 all over again, fine, go ahead and have it. Just don't have it in the middle of a pandemic.
So, tough transition.
This is going to be a bad idea.
But speaking of sacrifices,
Attention.
happy Memorial Day weekend from the Dan Patrick Show.
I knew it was going to be a tough segue, but horrible job.
Man, you ought to be ashamed.
Shouldn't be just a designated day, weekend, holiday. Should be every day that we remember our military service people.
Grateful for the freedoms to broadcast from the Mercedes Man Cave. This is Dan Patrick.
Welcome to the program. Made it to a Friday. It's a Meat Friday. We have the Traeger fired up. Pulled pork today. I think Alan, the IT guy, put it on the Traeger for 12 hours. We'll take it off the Traeger a little bit later on today. Oh, that's right. Just Paulie and I here and the backroom guys. Fritzy, McLovin, Seaton, good to have them on board. I was thinking of Memorial Day, and of course, you know what came to mind? Michael Jordan's performances on Memorial Day weekend, because this is playoff time. So I had the Stats Inc. guys go back, and I said, give me some Memorial Day weekends of Michael Jordan's career. 1989, the Saturday before Memorial Day, 46 points in a win over Detroit, including the game-winning jumper. 1990, on Saturday and then Memorial Day, Jordan had 47 and then 42 in 2 wins over Detroit. 1991 Memorial Day, Bulls finished a sweep of the Pistons. That was the infamous walking off no handshake game. 1993 Memorial Day weekend, Jordan had 54 points in a win over New York. 1996 Memorial Day, 45 points as the Bulls finished a sweep of Orlando. Speaking of Jordan, speaking of the Bulls, Sam Smith, who wrote the great book, The Jordan Rules, he will join us. We'll talk to him about the fallout here. What did he make of Michael Jordan saying Horace Grant was the snitch for the book? Sam will join us a little bit later on. Speaking of writers, Wright Thompson. Remember when I gave you a heads up for a great Christmas gift? That was, I think last year we had Wright Thompson on, and he had done profiles of Michael Jordan and Tiger Woods. Really a great writer, gets a chance to really get immersed into somebody's personality, and they allow him to. And Wright Thompson has another book coming out. It's about Pappy Van Winkle. I hope it's in time for Father's Day, because trust me, this will be a great Father's Day gift. But Wright Thompson will join us. He also just did another column, an article on Michael Jordan and Michael Jordan growing up. Has a lot of details about Michael Jordan, the person. So Wright Thompson will join us coming up in this second hour of the show. And I hope he can talk about this book, Pappy Van Winkle. I think it's called Pappy Land. And if you're a bourbon drinker, Pappy is, the Taj Mahal there. It's hard to get. And the secondary market's crazy on Pappy Van Winkle. Crazy. And I don't think it's an expensive bottle of bourbon when you buy it. If you can buy it, it's when somebody else gets it and then they put it up on the secondary market. Then it can go for a couple of $1,000s. Chris Webber, NBA on TNT. C. Webb will join us. We'll get his thoughts off the Jordan documentary. He always has stories when he joins us, and he certainly has some stories about Michael Jordan. I believe, and we have to find this out. McLovin, can you check? I think Chris Webber was on the Bullets when LaBradford Smith was on the Bullets or the Wizards, and that's when Mike, singled out LaBradford Smith for saying, hey, nice game, and, he created this rivalry with poor LaBradford Smith and then torched him the next time they played one another. But I think LaBradford Smith and C. Webb were on that team when Mike singled out LaBradford Smith. All righty. Welcome to the program. Glad we made it this far, and you can be involved in the program a variety of ways. There's chat row. You can also dial us up. You can watch. You can email. You can tweet. You can watch on youtube.com/The Dan Patrick Show and listen on the Fox Sports Radio lineup and, of course, 362 radio affiliates around the country. This program is brought to you by Traeger. They want to help you make this summer a tasty one, and with the real wood-fired flavor, the next level versatility, 6-in-1 versatility. We talk about 5-tool players. They're a 6-tool player. Traeger Grills, that's the ultimate way to cook. Contact your local dealer or visit TraegerGrills.com/DP show to get yours today. McLovin will have a poll question. We got a stat of the day, got a play of the day coming up as well. Obviously, there's a lot going on in the world. Obviously, there's a lot going on in our country. But for a certain portion of sports fans, there are stories that we will click on no matter what. Everybody loves a good mock draft, whether it's the NBA and that draft coming up, the NFL with the mock draft for next year, and then you have NFL rule changes. Those aren't far behind, because when you think about it, the impact rules have in the NFL on our lives, every single Monday we come in here and we're usually talking about a situation that was either right or wrong because of a rule change. Now, the owners are set to vote next week on 2 big ones. First, the Sky Judge. And I hope they call it the Sky Judge. Don't lawyer this up and give me some silly term. I want Sky Judge. I want somebody to have a business card that says Jimmy Lipper, Sky Judge. Now, we're going to love the Sky Judge until the Sky Judge screws up. But he or she is supposed to be up there helping the officials on the field. With the amount of grief that officials receive, it makes a lot of sense. The league is also considering an alternative to the onside kick. It was a couple of years ago where NFL officials said, if we could take the kickoff out of the game, we would take the kickoff out of the game. This was said to me. And I said, well, what are you proposing? We want to keep moving the kickoff up so all you have are touchbacks. I said, okay. And I said, well, what about punts? He said, we can't do anything about punts. They're trying to cut down on the number of collisions. And that was the word that he used, collisions. Because the punt return has a lot of collisions in it. The kickoff, I don't know what the percentages are of, kicks returned, but they're trying to eradicate that. They're trying to, if you said it went down to 0 returns, I think the NFL would be happy. But now you have the onside kick. There's no run-up because they want to cut down on collisions. Therefore, very little success in an onside kick. Now they're talking about a team would keep the ball after a score. Instead of the onside kick, they would have to convert a 4th and 15 from their own 25-yard line. And if they don't, the opposition gets the ball, and obviously you're in the red zone there. You can kick a field goal at worst. We'll see how the owners vote. I have no intel on this. I have not had anybody say, hey, this is going to pass. I was told Sky Judge makes a lot of sense. I don't know where this might be gimmicky to people and the owners. I don't know that. But the rule change would allow a team to do this only twice in a game. That would give, the competing team a chance to attempt to retain possession without going through the motions of the onside kick, which is what the NFL wants. I don't know if it's going to turn into a mess. They're also getting rid of the review of the pass interference plays, which I didn't want in the first place. The NFL's done a good job this offseason. When you think about it, full speed ahead, going to have the draft. All right, virtual draft. We can still pull it off. We're going to release the schedule. All right, no worries here. Just kind of easing along here. Maybe we start the season a little bit later. Maybe we don't. We're going to get players in camp. I talked to somebody in the medical community who works with the NFL about different ways to construct visors, the face mask. How can you have it where there's some protection there? They're doing their best moving forward here, still garnering headlines, but this is what we talk about. We talk about rule changes. We talk about calls every single week. That Monday, we're always looking back on something that happened. We've had these changes with the kickoffs. The onside kick is recovered at a rate of around 10% the last 2 seasons, including just over 7.5% in 2018. The lowest since such data became available in 1992. Well, there's a reason for that. If there's no run-up, you can't get a running start here when you kick the ball 10 yards. And this was in the XFL, or the Alliance of American Football. You know, they were trying to do something like this. In that season, the short-lived season, the ball was placed at a team's own 28-yard line for a 4th and 12 attempt. The Broncos brought this up. That concept has been out there for a little over a year. The Broncos presented a variation off of this, but I think that's based off the XFL because the Broncos said put it at the 35-yard line. Teams propose rules, so you'll see this where the Eagles propose this rule. The Patriots propose this rule. This was something the Broncos had. Now it looks like they're going to back up the ball to the 25-yard line, and it's likely to be approved. Looks like it's more than likely to be approved. It feels gimmicky to me, but it's weird how receptive I am to anything right now. Like if you just said, hey, football's coming back and they're going to have this. I'm like, yeah, I don't care. Yeah, whatever. Do whatever you want to do. Just bring me football. Now, once the season starts, I'll be like, who came up with this stupid rule? But if you have this, and I'd be curious what some of the players are thinking about with this, what coaches, you know, an offensive-minded coach, a defensive-minded coach, what would they be thinking about this? But getting rid of the kickoff, all right. You know, in 2010, there were 2,033 kickoff returns league-wide. In 2019, there were 938. These were kicks returned. I'll read that to you one more time. In the year 2010, there were just over 2,000 kickoff returns league-wide. This past season, same number of games, there were 938. If they could take this down to 500, 400, they would be thrilled. You want to have a kickoff to start the game. Instead of, and I still maintain that one of these days, they're going to, you know, there's going to be the 25-yard line. You just start on the 25-yard line. I like a kickoff. I just don't want a touchback. And that's what, when you think about it, how many times do you go, oh, kickoff? We used to get excited about this because there were guys who made careers out of being a great kickoff return man. Now, odds are it's a touchback. Taking it out of the equation. You know, think about some of these guys who were great at doing this, kickoff returns. Devin Hester is probably a Hall of Famer because of the kickoff. He wasn't a great every down player, wide receiver. I don't know where he stands with the Hall of Fame, but as far as return men, he became a household name because of that. Returned one in the Super Bowl. But that's where we're headed. And I don't know if people are going to like it. You might like it because it is interesting. You know, we're adding more excitement to the game. I don't know if we need to add more excitement to the game. It feels like we're doing well with the game. We've opened it up so offenses get to do whatever they want to do. That's what we wanted. You want more scoring in there. That, you know, for gamblers, for your fantasy leagues, you wanted that, you got it. Now, I don't know where it's headed after that with other rule changes. Sky Judge, I'm fine. If it helps the officials on the field, I'm fine with that. Because there are times when those officials don't want to, you know, intercede and go, hey, you made a mistake there. I still go back to that was the biggest mistake with the Rams and the Saints game was you had an all-star crew of officials. If you had the regular officials in the team that they have every single week, those guys would have trusted somebody who had their back. Nobody's going to embarrass anybody here. There's no egos involved because that was blatantly obvious. And that's where somebody comes in and says, hey, Tom, you missed it. I did? Yeah. Now that Sky Judge is going to be able to say, guys, let's huddle up here. We made a mistake here. And so I'm good with that. The 4th and 15 from the 25, sure, why not? I'm not in an argumentative mood today. I'm good. I am. I am good. Going into Memorial Day weekend. I'm feeling good. Yes, McLovin.
I can ruin it for you.
Oh,
in
no.
2 words.
Okay.
Pass interference. What happens on 4th and 15 when a cornerback grabs the guy like they do 75% of the time?
And
it's going to be pass interference, and that's how the play is going to convert. I mean, that would be, I would say, almost more likely that it's a PI than a catch.
Okay.
So,
well, is it pass interference?
Well, every play is pass interference when you watch the NFL. It's just a matter of like cornerbacks and wide receivers jostle. There are going to be so many controversial pass interference calls on this play.
Yeah, all right. I'll leave that to the officials whether they're calling, pass interference or not. Yes,
the way the rules are going now, if there's pass interference on 4th down, what they'll do is they're going to take the ball, give first down on the other 25, but you only get 3 downs for 4 points, and then that's the new rule.
Yes, Todd.
I hate that rule. It's beyond gimmicky. It's way too easy to convert a 4th and 15 compared to trying to get an onside kick. And who cares if the penalty is, the risk is the other team gets it 25 away. Usually when that's done late in the 4th quarter, you've lost if you don't pick up the onside kick. So who cares if it's 25 away or the other team's 1 yard away? You didn't get the onside kick, so game's done when they do it in the final minute or two, desperately to get the ball back.
Yeah, I just don't know if we need more excitement. I don't know the last time somebody said, the NFL's just not that exciting. I know that we can't use the onside kick. I know that they want to take that out, and now you can't, it's hard to convert it in the first place because I have no run up. I have to wait until the ball is kicked, hope it ricochets off somebody, and then I'm able to recover it. They just want to I'm waiting for them to take out the punt because the punt is violent. I think the punt is more violent than the kickoff because it feels like there are a lot of open targets there on the punt return, not necessarily the kickoff. Because if you look at the blocking, how it kind of unfolds in front of you, I don't think you have the same collisions you do with a punt. And you get those hits where somebody's not seeing it coming. There's more violence on a punt, but they can't take that out. But the kickoff, yeah, they would love to say goodbye to that and the onside kick. McLovin, you got a poll question?
Well, it depends. You want to go NFL rules or we have some Tiger Phil questions too. Paulie is hot on a couple things, NFL rules, about college rules. If you're going to put in rule changes, I'll let Paulie pitch them real quick.
Okay.
If you want to increase the excitement and the chance for comebacks in the NFL, there's a couple things you could do. You can make it 1 foot for catches, 1 foot in for catches. That means you're going to have much more offense in the NFL, and it'll be just like it is in college.
Let me save it here because C-Web is zooming in now. So let me take a break to be fair to him with his schedule. And then we'll talk a little bit more about this. Phone calls, more than welcome to take them today. 877-3DP-SHOW. It's 18 after the hour. Chris Webber tells some Jordan stories next year on the Dan Patrick Show. You check things all the time, your email, your Instagram. Check something important, your credit. Discover makes it quick and easy. Best of all, it's free. Discover's now offering FICO credit scores. That's the score used by 90% of top lenders, and they're doing it for free, even if you're not a customer. That's just how nice these Discover people are. Checking your score won't hurt your credit, and you can check each month for changes. The Discover Credit Scorecard, it's free for everyone. Learn more at discover.com/credit scorecard. Discover.com/credit scorecard. Limitations apply.
Matt Patricia, the defensive coordinator of the Patriots, he wears a hat on backwards, pencil over the ear, and a long, bushy beard. Do you think that will hurt him? And I'm not even kidding, as a head coaching candidate, that his look, and I'm not making fun of it, I'm asking, because we were discussing.
Well, I think that Rob Ryan was hurt by his look.
Yeah.
I do think there is a... You're still representing the team. There's a presentation part of this as well, that you're there at the press conferences. You're our head coach. Didn't Joe Walton, the Jets head coach, Didn't he wear his hat on backwards, too?
That's what happened.
Yeah, it's the old hat on backwards. You're not a professional. Yes, McLevin.
Not to go there, but there are a lot of unattractive coaches. I mean, it's not exactly the most.
No. I'm talking about a guy who he looks like he'd be your buddy.
Totally.
Like Matt Patricia looks like a guy you'd hang out with on Friday.
But you could get away with a cutoff sweatshirt and not caring about anybody.
Once
like
you get
Belichick.
a couple rings, you can.
Yeah, but look at Belichick when he was with the Giants. You know, he had his little soccer haircut, and he looked like he was presentable there. Now I don't care. I'm just showing up. I'm coaching. Yes,
you laugh at the hat on backwards thing, but I mean, we just gave it as an example as why he might not get a head coaching job. Aside from if he shaved his beard and put his hat on right, he would be more presentable as a coach.
Yeah.
So it's actually a true thing.
No,
then,
I think there's something to it. No, I think it's the whole thing. You don't have to have your hat on backwards. I think it's a whole presentation of how you look, how you dress. I don't know what his personality's like. There's a lot more that goes. Mike Tomlin came in and blew away the Steelers because he wasn't going to get the job. I think he was a Rooney Rule designated interview. So you brought him in, and all of a sudden they went, oh, my God, this guy's got it. He's got the authoritative. He commands the room. He's got a personality. And that I think helped him get the job. But I do think that Rob Ryan was probably held back. Not that he was a head coach, because Rex isn't a head coach. But I do think that has something to do with it, at least subconsciously. Yes.
If I was an owner, I'd never hire somebody wearing a visor. A little too much party. They don't take the job serious enough.
Gruden? You wouldn't hire Gruden?
Nope.
Wow.
It depends if you're a Southern team or a West Coast
Depends on who
team.
his coach was first. The guy before him.
You can't have a visor, though, in cold weather.
No.
You wouldn't do that. Like a visor in Green Bay wouldn't
What
work.
are we doing here? Are we playing golf or are we coaching a football?
Yeah, Fritzy.
It seems like if you want to be totally taken seriously, especially with all the press conference and everything and being the face of the team outside of the players, like a Tom Landry versus a Bum Phillips, you'd have to go almost all in like a Bum Phillips and look completely different to get any kind of respect. I think you've got to have some kind of authoritative, presidential, if you will.
But don't you
look.
think this happens in business every day when somebody walks in? How you're dressed, how you present yourself? I know that you're going for what does this person know about football or leading men, but you're doing this in business. If you have somebody heading up your sales department, you're looking at them like, how are they presenting themselves so others who look up to them or are their subordinates? Yeah, I think there's something to it, consciously or subconsciously. Yes,
Yeah, there probably is something to it. It's just extremely flawed.
Yeah.
I mean, lots of criminals wear suits.
Yeah, we profile.
The worst criminals wear suits.
Yes, they do. Nice suits. We profile every single day. Sometimes you don't even know you're profiling. Yes, McLevin.
I mean, the copycat nature of the league, I think hair is going to be a big issue after McVay. Honestly, isn't every team saying, get me the next Sean McVay for the Rams? I feel like teams are going to double his pay and get him. Look at what he did for golf.
Are they going to look for somebody with a 5 o'clock shadow?
Yeah.
Like, if you walk next.
Cliff Kingsbury is about to make a huge jump right to the NFL.
Yeah.
Shredded.
Well, you can't have your coach better looking than your quarterback, though.
In L.A., you can.
Ooh,
that's a strong accusation.
Whoa, you just said McVay better looking than Goff?
I'm just saying, in some place, New York City, you can have a good-looking coach, better looking than your quarterback. I feel like big cities are okay with that.
I don't know. I think you just you shook up the L.A. Times right there where you said McVay is better looking than Goff.
Maybe I was talking about the Chargers. 2 teams in L.A. now.
This program brought to you by Mercedes-AMG. Be prepared for whatever comes your way. It's the all-new GT 4-door coupe because life is a race. Visit your local dealership for a test drive today. If you missed any of our interviews this week or any week from the Mercedes-AMG Man Cave, go to the Dan Patrick Show app. Watch and listen from inside the Mercedes-AMG Man Cave. Mercedes-AMG driving performance. We'll get to your phone calls coming up. We'll talk to Wright Thompson, great ESPN writer, a little bit later on. Sam Smith, who wrote the Jordan Rules. I'll get his thoughts on Michael Jordan saying Horace Grant was the snitch for Sam Smith and all the sort of backroom stories that Sam unearthed about Jordan and the Bulls back then. So he'll join us in the final hour of the show. Man, it's not very often where I'm envious of somebody's man cave, but Chris Webber joining us now. I don't know how you describe that home gym, C-Web, but man, that looks like it's right out of a movie set.
Yeah, I borrowed it from Hoosiers, but no. Tell you what, it's pretty, but it doesn't get any more use anymore. So,
so it looks good. It's like a prop, but nobody's in there in the lab working.
I don't know if anybody's had a good game in here, probably in about 8 years. So it's been a while.
Best player who's played in there besides you?
Oh, Rip Hamilton, Matt Barnes, Rip Hamilton probably. Rip, he used to make this his place a lot. So Rip, this is Rip's gym.
Man, that is sharp looking, right out of a movie. All right, the documentary on Michael Jordan. What stood out to you when you watched? Assuming you watched.
Yeah, I watched. Actually, I binge watched the last 3 days. I couldn't watch during the beginning because after the first episode, I didn't see it was so much debate. I was just like, I'll go crazy as a Jordan fan, staying up to the moment on this. So I just waited, and it was everything that I thought and more. Great, for some disappointing at times, but I was the biggest Michael Jordan fan that there was, and it just made you feel good about those moments in your life, the things that you were doing at those times, the best memories that you had, and attach those to kind of Michael Jordan's life soundtrack. So it was pretty cool to watch.
Anything bother you?
I mean, I'm a Pistons fan, so not necessarily between him and Zeke, because I know that they have their thing, and Zeke is definitely a mentor and a friend. And I only had hoped Jordan would be that, growing up. But the narrative on the Pistons just being bully ball, it was funny to me because if you really look at it, New York, the next team was trying to be the Pistons, right? But
Yeah.
they didn't have Lambeer, who was shooting threes. I think he made 3, 4, 5 3-pointers in a quarter. So it wasn't just like come down, post up. They didn't have that team, So I thought the Pistons were a lot smarter than they were depicted, but at that time the rules were rough. And but as a Pistons fan, I didn't mind them walking off tiptoeing by the Bulls and all that. I didn't care. I didn't care. But I enjoyed the doc, and probably my favorite part was him winning the championship. Two of my favorite moments: KG winning the championship, saying anything's possible, and Jordan when he won the championship and he was holding it, and you knew his father wasn't there. I remember watching that game with my father. I remember how big of a moment it was, and it still plays as big that many years later.
What was it like, though, that first time you step on the floor with a guy that you've idolized, and now all of a sudden he's right there in front of you?
Okay, so like say with him, Barkley, Bird, the greatest players that I looked up to, whether it was because I first got a chance to play against Jordan in the Dream Team, and I'm telling you, in the huddle, my eyes are watering, looking at other guys like this is our moment, and
Wait, you're crying?
my eyes are watering. I'm not crying, but I mean, I guess I'm holding tears back. But this is a moment, I'm
Yeah.
playing against my hero. I mean, it's Larry Bird, Jordan, Malone, and Barkley over there, man. And I'm looking at Grant Hill, I'm looking at Rodney Rogers, and um, Hurley, and we're all looking like, man, we're here. This is that moment we'll never forget. And so playing against Jordan and all those greats, we grew up on them. So the only way to honor them is to act like or to do what they put in you and instilled in you. So even though you're the biggest fan, there's no time for, hey, Jordan, I love you, because that's not what he would want. There's no time for that with Barkley. So what you try to do is emulate what they would have done on the court. And that's just try to fake it like you're tough until you get off and call your dad and be like, man, I played against Jordan.
Did you get embarrassed?
No, we beat the Dream Team the first day, and then the next day we didn't score. So we got embarrassed, but after we reached the mountaintop, so we didn't care, man.
But this was summer of '92. Is that right?
It was going into my sophomore year after my freshman year, I believe. Yes.
And then
yes.
so it's a group of college all-stars against the Dream Team scrimmaging.
Yeah, Dana, you got to realize. I mean, I know you know the context, but I wanted to play in the Olympics.
Yeah.
You know, we thought we were pretty good, but the teams before that, we had discussed it kind of were lackluster, and so it wasn't our chance. And so, in talking to Coach Daly and David Stern, and them just saying how important this moment is in history, and how our favorite players are going to be the ambassador for basketball around the world, we kind of understood. Yeah, kids like us, they'd rather see this than us, so we'll wait our turn. But we knew it was a big moment, man. But watching Jordan, you going in his room, seeing the music he played, watching him play Tunk, Scottie Pippen taking us to dinner. Um, it was just what I learned playing against the Olympic team was that the NBA players really are fans of the college players, and they really want you to come in and do well, just not against them. And so it was cool. It was cool, seeing their generosity, but also feeling the wrath of that anger after you run out the gym up one and coach turns the clock off and the lights off.
What did you think when Leitner got that spot on the Dream Team?
I thought that Shaq was a better player, would be a better player, but Christian Laettner was by far a better college player. Christian Laettner is Christian Laettner in my age group, my demographic for players that I've seen is the best college player to step on the floor, period. And so I wanted some of him in those practices and scrimmages, but it was Barkley, Malone, and other guys. But I didn't feel any type of way. I thought it was a good political move for the NBA. A college player, 4 years, was going to be a high draft pick. And again, I mean, Christian Laettner got buckets and went to championships. So we got to put that in perspective. Christian Laettner is one of the best college players that we've ever seen in this game.
Yeah, I agree with you on it. I just didn't know how competitive that final spot was for college players. And as you said, Shaq should have been up for it. You could have been up for it. But Laettner is one of the more decorated college players of all time. And, we always look at, hey, how did he do as a pro? It's like the guy who wins the Heisman, Chris. And then they go, yeah, but he wasn't a good pro. Therefore, it diminishes what he did in college. And I always say Laettner was a better than average. He was a borderline good player, NBA player, good player in the NBA. He was great in college. He manned up every time. You needed a big shot, big game. He never backed down from anybody, from you guys to Larry Johnson, UNLV, whatever the challenge was. Laettner stepped up.
And he didn't back down in the NBA because people were trying to give him that work that they owed him from college his whole time in the league. So no, he did a great job. I just think we have to really remember the context of that time, and I know you guys know. Remember, Shaq should have started the All-Star game. I mean, he should have started the All-Star game his rookie year. And remember that Patrick Ewing and those guys said no rookies start the game. I mean, back then it was such a pecking order that Shaq freed us from. When Shaq, after he did that, what do you see? Other guys come in, then you see Yao getting the most votes, even though, yeah, it's international, but it still wasn't it wasn't anybody saying, oh, you can't do that, because it was the business of basketball. And we're like, come on, bring the best. And no matter what age they are, you don't have to be in the league this long to be an all-star. All you got to do is go to work right now.
He's Chris Webber, 5-time All-Star, NBA on TNT analyst, former NBA All-Star. You've told us some Jordan stories when you guys faced them in the playoffs. Did he drive up in? Did he have a Ferrari or Lamborghini? And was he waiting for you guys on the team bus?
So, Dan, I'm very happy that they showed Jordan with the cigars as much as he smoked. Yeah. Because I've told this story. I think I told you guys, and no one wants to believe it, because a Cohiba, I mean, try playing golf. A second nine is terrible if I smoke a Cohiba on the first.
No, it'll make you dizzy. You get lightheaded.
Come on. I mean, I knew baseball players that dipped. I knew, that is real. And so, yeah, we're coming in. I don't want to mess it up with missing out on what game it was, but we're playing against the Bulls, the best team ever, 72. Juwan from Chicago worked out with Jordan a lot. I'm a big fan of Jordan. And I knew, with him, you don't put on a blindfold and a cigarette. Just open your eyes and take it and enjoy the moment. Just go. And so I really feel I'm a really good teammate, because I was always about my teammates. That was my goal, to get you the ball, to make sure, because they do so much for you. And this is the one day I wasn't a good friend or a teammate. We pull into the Bulls arena, right up under there where you're parking. You can see little restaurants and everything. And getting off with my suit and my bag, you know, in game mode. And Juwan is in front of me walking off the bus. I'm talking junk to him, whispering in his ear. And we get off the bus and directly across, like a cartoon, like a movie, like Shaft. Yeah, he was like Shaft. Like Jordan was sitting back on the Ferrari, smoking a cigar before the game. And this series, I think we played them 3 games and they only beat us by 7 points total. So we thought we were hot stuff. And we get off and he goes, "Hey, Webb, who's checking me?" And I looked at Juwan, and we both looked back at Calbert Cheney and did like this. That was so whack of us, man. That was so wrong of us, man. And I think he gave us 53, 55 or something, something like that. It was so crazy. I remember telling Juwan when Jordan was on the free throw line, I was like, he sold his soul. He sold his soul to the devil to be good in basketball. And he looked at me like, maybe I did, maybe I didn't.
You weren't on the team with LeBradford Smith, were you, when Mike singled him out? Were you still at Michigan?
Yeah, I was still at Michigan. I wasn't there for that beatdown.
Poor LeBradford Smith. He didn't do anything. He said nice game, and then Mike used that as a slight.
And did he really even say nice game? Who knows? Somewhere LeBradford Smith has a son going, "Dad, why'd you say that to Mike?" He's like, "Son, listen, I really didn't." Yeah. One of the best competitors ever. And I tell you what, it was an honor to compete against him and Kobe in the same way, because everything was on the table. You knew their incentive, their ulterior motives, their motivation. You just honestly knew what it was, and it was rather refreshing to know this is what you're going up against. You would start thinking about him 3-4 games before you started to play him, and all you wanted to do is beat him and win every possession. So if you did get a steal, you better talk junk and enjoy that moment, because whether you do or don't, he's going to come back and take it out on you anyway. So it was an honor to play against, in my opinion, the greatest of all time.
And also, people want to make this comparison with LeBron and Michael. And I said, if you want to make a comparison, make the comparison with Kobe, because they are similar. LeBron is not close to Michael as far as his approach to the game, his personality. Kobe was an alpha dog. I mean, but he learned from Mike, as he said, "Hey, I'm who I am because of Michael." He wanted to be Michael. LeBron can't be Michael. He's more Magic than Michael. But we keep trying to, hey, we got to have this conversation, this debate, this argument.
Yeah.
And it's hard to debate that. I could debate Kobe and Mike more than I can LeBron.
Yeah, you definitely can. I can too, because we all know that Kobe wanted to be Mike. The vulnerability, talking like Mike, the interviews, everything's a challenge. I used to tease him about, and he wanted that. And I really think we need to appreciate the evolution of players, because if it wasn't for Magic, there'd be no LeBron, in my opinion. Magic 6'9", dribbling the ball. LeBron the same way. LeBron makes the correct basketball play, and yet he's been criticized every single time. There were some things in the doc that exposed Mike's attitude, and whether you like it or not, that's your opinion. And we see LeBron's attitude every day, whether he trusts Kyrie for a last shot, or some would say need him for a last shot, but Jordan said he needed Pippen. So, to me, LeBron is a mixture of Michael and Magic, because he has the athletic ability of Michael and the willingness to pass and get others involved like Magic. And it was something that we really hadn't seen. And I think I heard Pippen or someone say, when LeBron has the ball, everyone on the floor is open, because you have to start guarding him, but you also have to watch your man and not let LeBron be a decoy by having all the eyes on him. So I agree with you. It's an unfair comparison, and but I tell you what, all 3 of those guys are
they're pretty good.
They're pretty good. They're okay.
Give me a Kobe story I don't know.
Wow, a Kobe story you don't know. I don't know how good of a story this is, but not to waste time thinking about it. I remember, don't know what year it was. It was the Afro Kobe. It was Afro Kobe. He was
Paulie. Wait, hold on, Chris. Paulie, check the Afro Kobe. What year that would have been?
I think that's 99. Yeah. I think it's 99, but I'll check.
Okay.
So that's good stats. You know the game. But the year before, he had been criticized, or someone said something about him being weak in the fourth quarter. We went to dinner or something, and he brought this up, and I'm looking at him. I'm like, we really gonna talk about this now? And so whatever. It was in passing. And so we played them, Sacramento, always used to play them in the preseason in Vegas or something. And so I hadn't seen Kobe in a while, and he texted me or something. And we run it out. We run a play, the first couple plays of the game, and he comes by, bang! And he hits me real hard. I'm looking at him like, what's wrong with you, man? Comes back, bang! He hits me real hard. And so at halftime, he's like, you feel that? I'm getting stronger, right? I'm getting stronger, right? And I mean, it was from our conversation. I think the greatest thing about those is like how I've heard that a great pitcher, you have to not have a great memory. You know, you can't remember the guy that hit a home run on you. You only focus on the next one. The great things about those guys, they never let anything go. Even if it is, like I used to have a superstition that you can't have a superstition. That was my only superstition. If you play a great game in these shoes, so what? Don't play in them again because nothing can get in your mind. Like, so what? The shoes didn't do it. And for Kobe and Jordan and those guys, I think that their memory and motivation, their memory came from their motivation, even if it was off a successful game, challenging themselves to outdo that game last time. And so it's definitely a winner's mentality with those kids, with those guys.
We playing basketball here soon?
I was going to ask you. I hear so much. I don't know. What do you think?
I think they're going to try to pull this together in Orlando and maybe use Vegas for the West Coast teams. But it feels like you only get one shot at this, Chris. You know, that's the thing. And you got to do it right, because if somebody tests positive or something goes wrong here, then the season's done. So I like that the commissioner stayed quiet. Haven't heard anything from him in 3 weeks, and that's a good thing. I get the feeling they're gonna give this a go here in the next couple of weeks, try to get everybody together.
Well, I love the fact that our league and our players union stay in constant contact. I think we have great leadership from Chris Paul and from Silver on both sides. I do, Dan, I do worry about it. I would like to see, regardless of this year, I would like to see the season, and I've stated this many times, start in December.
Yeah.
Around Christmas, so we don't have to compete, so that we can, with football, so we can take about 10 to 15 to 20 games off, so that old guys like myself can quit complaining, saying, oh, you know, Jordan played 82 games, rest doesn't matter. I think, you know, this moment in time could be the line in the sand. And with LeBron, he's the ultimate, he's not even a basketball player, he's an ambassador. So, you know, being that he played 82 games, him being the guy that comes in and now plays 70, now plays and ushers in this new era, I think would be cool. I'm more worried about, or more looking forward to the product next year. I would be excited if basketball is played this year, but guys have not been playing. So we're going to see a little rustiness with that. What do you do with teams that could make it in? If a guy like myself that's been in 15 years and each year is just one time to win a championship, even if I'm in 11th place, you got to let me try to play to get in the playoffs, or at least that's my argument. And so it's just, man, I'm just not envious of the people in a position to make decisions now, because like you said, one thing goes wrong and it won't be good. But I do trust the league, and I do trust players to make sure they put their best efforts forward in whatever the decision's made.
Chris, it's always great to talk to you. We appreciate your time. Hope you're feeling well, and hopefully we get some basketball.
Y'all aren't quarantined like all in the same house? Like y'all weren't staying together since like March? I thought y'all would be living together like 3 months. That's a reality show. You know what I mean? And we get to see y'all in the studio. No, y'all not? No. There would be murder. And we couldn't do it. Yeah, that wouldn't be good for Dan Patrick to murder.
No, it wouldn't. Or be murdered.
Yeah, that's probably it. Or they'll just duct tape you and just hold you for ransom.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, guys.
That's Chris Webber. We'll take a break. Phone calls, play of the day coming up next.
Dan, this weekend, I think it's today, is National Road Trip Day. So the question to the room is, and we'll go first, you can go last, Dan. If you had to take a road trip, a long one, all by yourself or with a pal, and you could only pick one musical artist to accompany you, a specific road trip artist, not maybe necessarily your favorite artist of all time. Go off the board a little bit. Don't go obvious. I'm going to go first.
Wait, just their music, not the actual musician.
That would be nice too, but I'm going to go with just the music.
Okay. Okay.
I'm going to go with country rockabilly legend Dwight Yoakam. I'm a huge Yoakam fan. I think he'd be perfect on a long road trip. I'm going to go Seton next.
Well, there's sort of, whenever we go on a road trip now, there's one specific album that we always put in. So I'm going to just say the composer of said album, which would be one Edward Theodore Vedder. We listen to the Into the Wild soundtrack all the time, especially when we're going on like a long road trip. Great album. Like there's not a miss on that whole album. But then you also get all of Pearl Jam and all of that music too. So
the irony is that road trip didn't work out so well. Hopefully yours work out better. Fritzy, you're next.
But his soundtrack for said album or for said road trip was fantastic.
Fantastic movie.
I know we're saying body of work, but I can't look away. If it's a road trip, I also need the body of work, and I need some companionship. So it's
just the music.
Okay, but that being said, I'm still going to take Susanna Hoffs and the Bangles. I want them with me on the road trip, even if they only have like 5 or 6 hits, especially when they sing In Your Room and Walk Like an Egyptian. And even if they sing it 100 times to get us 3,000 miles wherever we're going, I want to hang out with the Bangles. And that's what I'm going with.
Holy shit.
Just watch the Walk Like an Egyptian video.
You can't watch it while
you're driving.
I'm just letting you know in advance. That's part of the reason why.
Bengals have 6 hits? Get out of here.
I think they've got at least 6 hits.
Nah, 3 times.
Pretty sure.
Andrew, you're next. Try to cover that.
I hate to break the rules here, Paulie, but I'm going hybrid of show tunes because I grew up on family trips with the Annie soundtrack, the Fame soundtrack, Les Mis. So I want to do show tunes because that's something the whole family could agree on.
I think the judges are going to allow that.
The judges are allowing
Yeah.
that. Yeah, we're
Show
checking.
tunes.
Yeah. I thought you were alone on the trip.
Either way,
my wife would be okay with the Bangles being in the car in the back seat.
Should have thought of that before you picked.
By the way,
made that
alone, I would
horrendous
still go
choice.
show tunes.
All right, Dan, you're
Just
last
real
up.
The Beatles.
Oh no.
Oh no! And this coming from the guy who said the Bangles?
Dan, we're not going to approve that. We're going to make you go to the well and go a little bit off the board. You can't go that obvious.
Dude, you guys just came up with the Bengals and show tunes.
Hey,
Andrew.
I have to
terrible.
I have to pick up the credibility of this show.
That's fair. That's fair.
Good God. The Bangles?
Love the Bangles.
No, I was just like, all right, let's see which is he gonna go Lou Reed or Velvet Underground, or is it gonna be whoever? And he came out with the Annie soundtrack.
No, I think McLovin's is the best. I think it's great. Absolutely. I do.
You guys ever put down the Dear Evan Hansen soundtrack? Woo, that'll entertain you for about 50 miles.
If someone put the Annie soundtrack out, I would just open the door and roll out on the highway.
I think we need to
somewhere across Iowa, Andrews. I'm gonna live forever.
I'm gonna learn how to fly high.
Well, Penny got some treats. That's nice. Simply Nourish sent that in. Don't be afraid to sponsor the show there, Simply Nourish, but we'll give you some love here. Thank you for Penny. Penny got some nice treats. I doubt if she's gotten up from her nap, though. She works really hard. This is Officer Edward Fiddler, and this is the Philadelphia Police Crime Scene Unit. Thank you. This is from the White House. Oh no, it's White House, Texas. My bad. Ooh, pretty sharp. White House, Texas. Thank you, guys. Got a little medallion there as well. This is from the Nashes. Plainwell Department of Safety, about 35 minutes south of Grand Rapids. Thank you. What do we have here? This is LAP. Whoa, SWAT. We're not kidding around here. LAPD. And I think I got one more. Ooh, Colorado State Patrol. This is the Pierces. Colorado State Patrol, thank you. We will display these proudly. Thank you.
my God.
The play of the day.
Runner left side, got it! They're going to play it and play it.
This is the play of the day. Check this out.
Mo Williams will throw in. Rashard Lewis playing off the ball. Gets it to LeBron for three for the win. Yes! LeBron James at the buzzer as the Cavaliers have pulled it out to tie the series. And what a miraculous shot by James!
11 years ago today, Marv Albert, The Call, NBA on TNT, game-winning shot against the Magic in the Eastern Conference Finals. If it wasn't for the fact that Cavs lost the series, this probably would go down as a pivotal moment in LeBron's career. Magic went on to lose to the Lakers in the finals that year. That's our play of the day. Play of the day brought to you by LegalZoom. Need to make it legal? Make it LegalZoom.com. Take care of your family today with the right estate plan at LegalZoom.com. A couple of phone calls here. Settle on a poll question. I love Chris Webber. I think he's a great guest. He never... You know, he's told the Jordan story where he gets, they get off the bus and Jordan's waiting there with his, sitting next to his Lamborghini, smoking a Cuban cigar. And he told the story and added something else to the story that he didn't tell us 5 years ago. He's great. Really is. A lot of fun. Ted in Tampa leads us off this morning. Hi, Ted. What do you have for me today?
Yeah, hey, Dan. You probably already know it, but on Memorial Day, all the members of our special operations community that don't have a mission on Monday night, we'll be doing the Lieutenant Mike Murphy workout in honor of Mike Murphy, who was killed, awarded the Medal of Honor, Operation Red Wings. The movie Lone Survivor was made about that. And from what I was told, Paulie's going to be doing that with us. It's a 1 mile run, 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 squats, and another 1 mile run.
Ted, I don't think you're talking about. You're not talking about my Paulie.
Oh, I've already picked up his shirt, and I've already got his runner's bib.
Okay.
So I'll mail that to you.
Thank you
guys on Monday.
Thank you, Ted. Paulie, he can't be talking about you.
I don't think so. Not the. I mean, I'll do a few push-ups, but I don't see you haven't run a mile this whole calendar year.
A total of a mile.
Total. I'm completely honest.
All right, some NFL calls here on the proposed rule changes. Doug in North Carolina. Hi, Doug. What do you have for me today?
Well, two quick questions. First, and I was not intending to ask about this, but based on the way the Chris Webber interview ended, if the five of you guys really did home quarantine together, and if you did start murdering each other, who would be the last 10 at standing and breathing? But the real reason I'm calling is I want to make sure I understood you correctly. I have a 15-year-old son who's a huge Saint fan and is still bitter about that non-call pass interference.
Yeah.
And then the NFL tried to correct it last year, and now they're going to get rid of their correction, and you said you're okay with that. I just want to understand your thinking.
I want the sky judge. No, the sky judge is what I want somebody who's part of the team. The problem I had with this is you had all-stars. You didn't have the regular team. Each week these guys have a team that they, the team of referees, and then they're together each week. And I just think ego got in the way of this official not asking for help, or somebody, you can see somebody come down the sidelines, as if to say, hey, we got to talk about this. And you can see where he's waved off. I think having somebody who will make a call or say, guys, huddle up. We missed something here. And I think ego got in the way where somebody didn't want to embarrass somebody. And that, then we saw what happened after that. But, if they do it right, I just want it correct. That's all. You're there. You have an opportunity to correct something. If we can see it, you can see it, and you should be able to make the right call. And if you have the sky judge there who can help, and he's not down on the field, but he's a big brother there, he's the eye in the sky to say, huddle up, guys, let's talk about this. I think we missed something here. And gives somebody an opportunity to look at it and say, yeah, that's interference. Or, no, that's not. But they missed helmet to helmet, and you missed come on. There's no excuse for that. Now, that didn't mean you had to change the rule. Hopefully, it'll clean it up. All right, 1 hour in the books, 2 more to go. Seton, Paulie, Fritzy, McLovin, yours truly here. Dan Patrick Show. I read where when you went on your honeymoon, John Gruden was your coach in Tampa, and he wanted you to cut short your honeymoon.
Where do you come up with this stuff? You're amazing.
Okay, so you went to Italy.
Right. I'm in Italy, and it's my turn. I'm not the starter in Tampa, but I think he sees potential in me to be the starter. It's going into my second season.
And this is in March, I think you took your honeymoon.
I believe it is. March, maybe early April, right? Somewhere around there. But we haven't started OTAs yet. But back in that time, Gruden loved to go out and we would have walkthroughs. And he'd make people in the building wear jerseys and pennies to simulate the defense, and he'd draw up the cards. And so we could get the new guys up to speed with the offense and things like that. Well, some of the older quarterbacks at the time were not there or around. I think that year it might have been like Brad Johnson, and he was a veteran. He wasn't there quite yet. So I take my vacation, of course, asked for his blessing. Hey, I'm going to go on a honeymoon with my wife, just 2 weeks, and I'll be back.
Did you invite Gruden to your wedding?
No, I did not. No, my wedding's a whole nother story. I got married, proposed to my wife, and got married in 13 days. Okay. That's how quickly it happened. Right. I mean, we could have a whole show on my relationship with my wife.
Did you have to get married?
Oh, we didn't. But I was young, dumb, and, full of whatever and stupid. Right. That's all I really was. And my wife and I had broken up for a little bit. Then we got back together, and I was like, listen, I know I want to marry you. If you want to do it now, or if you want to wait till after the season, it's going to be you. And she picked now. And I guess she figured I might as well get him while he's ready. And we orchestrated a wedding literally in 13 days in the back of my parents' house and had about 50 or 60 people. So we waited till after that season to go on the honeymoon, right?
Yeah.
We go on the honeymoon, and I tell Gruden, like I said, and I would say about day 8, one day I'm like, damn, I got a few voicemails on my phone. Let me check my voicemails. And I have 4 or 5, and 2 of them are Gruden. And I'm the same day, hey man, what are you doing? Hope the honeymoon's going good. Look forward to when you're back. And then literally he must have left a message 2 hours later going hey man, when are you coming back? Next day I wake up. I mean, what are we doing? Are you canoeing back from Italy? And it just went on and went on. And I cut my honeymoon short because I was feeling the pressure. I really was. We had gone to the last phase of going into Capri, right? The little island off of Italy. We were going to go there for a few days. And my wife could see that it was starting to bother me. And I knew I had a chance to be the starter. And I was like, you know what? The weather's not that great right now, honey. Let's get out of here and go back home. And yep, he got me, and I was back there in no time.
And the payoff is, who started the season as the starting quarterback for the Buccaneers?
I believe that was that year might have been Brian Greasy, right? Yeah. Brian then got hurt, and then I took over, and we went on a little playoff run. Yeah, but that's Gruden. That's the way he is, and that's what he expects of his quarterbacks. And at the time, Greasy wasn't around because he was a veteran. We had a guy named Luke McCown. You know Luke McCown? He had just got there, so he didn't understand the offense, and I think that was driving Gruden crazy that he couldn't have these walkthroughs because he was having to teach the quarterback the offense too. So that's why he started to pressure me, but that's the beauty of John.
buckle up, boys. Time to go to work.
You have people all over the world taking pay cuts, losing their jobs, losing their lives.
If I'm going to play, I should be getting money I signed to be getting paid.
It's always about money.
So remarkably tone deaf.
I'm not playing unless I get mine.
Stop talking.
On top of that, it's getting taxed.
If you want 1994 all over again, fine, go ahead and have it. Just don't have it in the middle of a pandemic.
So, tough transition.
This is going to be a bad idea.
But speaking of sacrifices,
Attention.
Happy Memorial Day weekend from the Dan Patrick Show.
I knew it was going to be a tough segue, but horrible job.
Man, you ought to be ashamed.
Shouldn't be just a designated day, weekend, holiday. Should be every day that we remember our military service people.
Grateful for the freedoms to broadcast from the Mercedes Man Cave. This is Dan Patrick.
Welcome to the program. It's hour 2 on this Friday. Dan and the Danettes, Dan Patrick Show. Glad to have you on board. We have golf coming up this weekend. It's Tiger Woods, Peyton Manning, Phil Mickelson, Tom Brady. Now, this is what I was wondering. When they set these teams together, wouldn't you rather have Brady and Tiger versus Phil and Peyton? Because Tiger winning all these titles, that Phil probably would have won a few of those if Tiger wasn't around. Tom Brady winning all these titles, and, Peyton had to compete with Tom Brady. I'd rather have the underdogs here, if you want to call it that, of Peyton and Phil against Tiger and Tom. But I'm not sure if they did this by golf ability, because I think Peyton is a little better golfer than Brady. But Brady hasn't played much golf. His handicap is probably close to a 9, maybe, and Peyton's probably around a 6. And then you have Tiger, and then you have Phil, who will cancel each other out. But if I was going to do it, I would have the underdogs, so-called underdogs, Phil Mickelson, teamed up with Peyton to get back at Brady and Tiger in this made-for-TV event. Mickelson, on the Callaway Golf Podcast, talked about Tiger. He has the advantage, a home course advantage, but Phil is going to use that to his benefit.
Well, to me, it's funny because we wanted to hold this at another site, but Tiger insisted that we go to his home course, and I understand why. He didn't like that I beat him the first time, and he wants every advantage possible. He takes the lower handicap, Peyton Manning, who's a 4, gives me the one that's an 8, and he insists that we go to his home course over anyone else. Now, I love that about him, and I respect that about him, that he's looking for every little edge. But from my point of view, I'm the defending champion of the match, and I have the belt to prove it. I'm going to go down to his home course, and I have nothing to lose now because even though I'm defending, I'm going to his place. Everybody expects him to come back and win. He has supposedly a better partner for golf game-wise. But I think Tom and I are going to go down there with nothing to lose, freewheel it, play well, and have the ability to give him a bad memory at his home course.
That's the Callaway Golf Podcast with Phil Mickelson. If I told you a year ago, hey, you know what? We're going to spend our Memorial Day watching Tiger Woods, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, and Phil Mickelson play golf, you'd probably say, why? Because if Tiger and Phil would already be in season, and you would think that Brady and Peyton would have other things to do, certainly Brady with his new team. Well, we would have thought he was still with New England a year ago if I asked you this question. But here we are, 4 of the more competitive people you ever see, and each one of them probably remembers every bad swing or bad throw or bad loss that they've encountered. I'm curious the dialogue that'll go on here, because they're all sneaky trash talkers. I think out of the group, Peyton Manning's the best trash talker in there. Mickelson can hold his own. Tiger always can go scoreboard, and so can Brady. If you want to, you just go scoreboard. Because Phil Mickelson will say things to Tiger like, remember when I beat you in the Deutsche Bank? Or remember when I beat you in the AT&T Pebble Beach? And then Tiger will go, yeah, but in the big picture. And then that's it. Then the conversation is over. But that's coming up this weekend between those two. Here's Peyton Manning talking about roasting Tom Brady.
Ernie, the course, the tournament had to be in Florida. After Tom's B&E arrest, with the ankle monitor, he couldn't leave the state. So it had to be in Florida. Tiger and I talked to the sheriff in Tampa. He's going to be allowed to go to Palm Beach to play. I'll be honest, I've never played Tom very well on his home turf. And so maybe this is considered a neutral site. And I would have loved to have had this tournament in a place where they don't like Tom very much. Indianapolis, Denver, Boston, after he just betrayed them and broke their hearts.
Wow. That's he mentioned Ernie. Ernie Johnson was promoting the Champions for Charity event on TNT. That's courtesy of TNT. So a little back and forth there, and I hope that we have a little bit more of that. That's why when you had Rory and Dustin and you had Ricky Fowler, like there's no real digging there, rivalry. When we play golf, you play golf with your buddies, you needle them a little bit, and that's what I want here. The last time they played, when they played the match with Phil and Tiger, they clammed up the back nine because it got serious. I want to have some levity here. I want to have some nice digs there. I think that would be fun. And I think Peyton Manning will do it. Since Peyton's not playing football anymore, I think he's, hey, you just turn up the volume. I'm good. I'm unplugged. I can say whatever I want here. And I think Phil will jump in, too. He's not afraid to get a couple of stabs in there as well. 877-3DP Show. Email address dp@danpatrick.com. Twitter handle at DP Show. I've talked about the military quite often on this show. Very proud to be the son of a Marine. And I have a couple members of my family that were in the Navy, well represented in the military. And, this Memorial Day weekend, it always seems like it passes by and then we forget why we're really celebrating Memorial Day. And if you get that opportunity and if you see somebody in service or has been in service there, acknowledge them the best that you can during this pandemic because it's forgotten. And I always go back to the Vietnam vets because I just remember my brother was so close to going to Vietnam. And I remember my dad saying, the Marine says to my brother, I can't let you go fight in a war that you can't win. We can't win. And he knew it. And I just remember that somehow my brother's number, because you got numbers back then, and he had a high number, and he did not go. But those guys who did come back, I've always had a soft spot in my heart because they came back. And it wasn't their fault, but they came back. They weren't war heroes. And it was almost like they got the blame. And I always felt bad about that. But if you get this opportunity to say something to somebody who is in the military, was in the military, please do. Because we forget. And even now with what's going on in our country, we're forgetting that we have people deployed all over the world. I just got an email today. This is from the chaplain, Andy Madison. He said, I just want to say thank you for all that you guys do. I'm deployed in the Middle East right now with the Air Force, and you guys keep me laughing and connected to home. You guys help distract us from the situation, especially when we don't have sports to watch. Be safe, Andy, and thank you for that email. All right, we'll come up with a poll question. I believe we have a poll question. Is that right, McLevin? We were talking about the NFL rule changes there. And
Well, we went in a totally different direction.
Oh, you did?
We've been having this debate.
Uh-oh.
Whose career would you want, Tom or Tiger? And you could ask the same thing in hour 2 and 3 for Phil and Peyton.
Well, let's start Tiger and Tom. Whose career? I'm going to say Tom from this. He's pretty clean with everything about him. Tiger has things attached to him. Am I just getting, what am I getting here if I say Tiger? Am I getting the person as well? How do we differentiate? It's just his playing career and say this is who he's going to be when it's all said and done and what he's accomplished there? Is that, or am I reading too much into it, McLevin?
I think you can interpret it any way you want.
Well, if you're going to attach, the life of these two guys, then I'm taking Tom Brady. if you're going to say accomplishments, like there's no question that Brady's the greatest quarterback of all time. There is a question if Tiger's the greatest golfer. I think he's the most impactful golfer of all time. He's not the greatest golfer, but he's the most impactful. And at times was the most dominant. And when you consider what he did globally, thanks to the likes of Arnold Palmer and Jack Nicklaus, Tom Brady is not global. He's regional, where Tiger is worldwide. I don't think there's a wrong answer here. The way Tiger did it, Brady didn't do it where you go, oh my God, I've never seen that before. Tiger did it in a way where you went, I haven't seen that before. I'm sorry, he's in a fairway bunker, I don't know, 200 and some yards out over water, and he's going to have a 6-iron out of the bunker. Yeah, and he'll put it right up near the pin. He was doing things that hadn't been done in a long, long time. People forget that they jack-proofed golf courses. We talk about Tiger-proofing. Augusta jack-proofed that course. They made it tougher because of Jack Nicklaus, because Jack was a powerful driver of the ball. So when guys would get upset, modern day, like, oh, I can't believe they're doing this to Tiger. They're Tiger-proofing Augusta. I went, back in the 60s, they did this to Jack Nicklaus. But I guess I would go Brady. Brady's not the best football player of all time. And that, there is no wrong answer. It's just, I guess it depends on, the sport, that football is still the sport, whereas golf is not. I mean, Tiger was going to make it more fun, sexier. It's okay to play your dad's sport. That's what it was when I was growing up. I didn't play golf. It was my dad's sport. I don't play golf. I play baseball, football, basketball. Now, or at least when Tiger was playing, the number of people who decided that they wanted to play, especially athletes and former athletes, that everybody got into it. Tom is still, he's the GOAT. Tiger's not the GOAT. He might be. Tom's the GOAT. I guess I'd go Brady. Yeah, Paul.
It's kind of ironic. A Tom Brady football player, almost unscathed. He doesn't have any permanent injuries. He had 1 year where he had the knee injury and was out with the Pollard hit. Tiger Woods is almost debilitated because of golf. He's back now, but he had a long run where he was debilitated. Remember, he talked about he couldn't sit in a chair, and it's golf.
Wouldn't you I know it'd be the other way around if I said, let's watch these two guys walk or sit down or get up from a chair, and you go, well, one guy played football and the other guy played golf. You probably would have said, oh, Brady, obviously a golfer. Tiger, man, football really took its toll on him. Yeah, McLevin.
I mean, let's face it. When you're in high school, everybody wants to date the high school quarterback. Nobody wants to date the high school golfer. I mean, there's a big, culturally, the quarterback's the guy. It was a football golf debate for me.
Oh, I think there are a few people that wanted to date the star golfer in this situation. Yes, Todd.
Yeah, but how much do you weigh individual greatness versus team greatness? That's another factor you got to put in. It's not just which sport do you like more. I think that's got to be a little bit part of it. All the wins and losses, whatever happens, is all on you in a sport like tennis or golf, where you have to obviously rely on a bunch of other players to help bring you to that greatness with Brady.
And who's your pick?
I would pick Brady.
Okay.
I was curious about how much you would factor in an individual sport versus team sport in this conversation.
Well, when you think about the most important position in all the sports, it's a quarterback. So, and we gauge the greatness of a quarterback based off of championships. He certainly has answered that. Tiger has answered that, but Jack has more championships, more majors there. If he gets past Jack Nicklaus, does that change my opinion? No. I think what Brady has done is it's incredible that the number of Super Bowl appearances here. And I use that as a positive. He lost to the Eagles. He didn't lose to the Eagles. Patriots defense lost to the Eagles. Tom Brady threw for 500 yards. He was spectacular. But they lose the Super Bowl, and thankfully we start to look at these teams' quarterbacks. If you lose the Super Bowl, it's not the end of the world, or we don't hold you in a negative light, because we used to. I mean, John Elway was a bum because you guys got blown out in the Super Bowl 3 times. Now, you got to the Super Bowl. Oh, the Buffalo Bills, losers. No, they got to the Super Bowl. The fact that Jack was playing in all, if you look at the number of majors, so what's he have, 18? How many times did he finish second? He could easily have 25 majors. Easily. 30. Easily. Yeah, Paul.
Jack Nicklaus finished second place in 19 different majors. He also had 56 top 5 finishes in majors.
Yeah, so let's say you just take a third of those. If I got 6 of those, now we got 24 majors? Nobody's catching that. But Tiger was more impactful, I believe. Arnie is the most impactful golfer of all time because Arnie made the sport cool. He looked like he was James Bond out there. And what he did with Arnie's army, and really, he became a global icon in the golf world, probably before anybody else did. And then Jack, but Jack wasn't embraceable because people liked Arnie. They liked a guy who rolled up his sleeves, smoking heaters out there, probably, taking a sip of scotch when it was all said and done, getting on his private plane. And Tiger finished runner-up 6 times in his career. Yes, Todd.
How much differently do we look at Jim Kelly? How amazing it was to go to 4 straight Super Bowls. If he wins 2 or even just 1 of those 4, how is Jim Kelly's legacy different among the greats of quarterbacks? Imagine
if he wins 4. Then all of a sudden you go, Jim Kelly's one of the great quarterbacks of all time. He's a Hall of Fame quarterback, but that if he had won 2 of those, or if this was back in the 60s where you won an AFL title and an NFL title because we didn't have the Super Bowl. The number of coaches and quarterbacks who got titles because they played just the NFL, not the AFL, and vice versa there. So we would look at the Buffalo Bills completely different if they were just in the AFL and played in the AFL and they won their title in the AFL. All right, we'll get to phone calls here. They got some rules that are on, proposal. They're proposed rules that are going to be on the table for the NFL owners next week, including they're going to try their best to get rid of the onside kick. They've done their best to get rid of the regular kick. Now we're talking about a 4th and 15 scenario where you could do that twice in a game, where you could opt for that instead of the kickoff or the onside kick. The success rate on 3rd or 4th and exactly 15 yards from 2015 on is 15%. Success rate on onside kick, 14%. I don't know if we need to spice up the game, but they're trying to do that, borrow it from the XFL, and also add a little more excitement in there, which I don't know if we need. It feels gimmicky to me. Jeremy in Texas. Hey, Jeremy, what do you have for me?
What's up, guys? They're talking about that rule change. If we're trying to get rid of kickoffs and punts, why don't we just go goal line to goal line? Use the full 100 yards and just go for it. That's the first thing. 2 is the main problem is overtime rules are horrible. I think both teams should get a chance at the ball. First person scores, the next person gets the ball back. If they score, go for a 2-point conversion. Don't give them the chance to kick an extra point. Go for a 2-point conversion to determine the winner.
Yeah, but they don't want that, though, Jeremy. Thanks for the phone call. They don't want another play like that where you're going to have more collisions. A first and goal from the 2 for a 2-point conversion, they're trying to get rid of those kind of plays, adding more plays like that. At least that's what I've been told. CJ in New York. Hey, CJ, what do you have for me today?
Morning, Dan.
Morning.
Happy belated.
Thank you.
5'9", a pale 164. So I think I might have something that is must-see TV. If the NFL is worried about the collisions with kickoffs, we don't want to get rid of kickers because they're people too. So we could still have the kickoff.
Yeah.
And let's shine the spotlight on the gunner, who is often lost in this and doesn't get the respect I think they deserve. 1 gunner, 1 kick returner. So you still have the returner. And it's the punter or the kicker kicks the ball, and it's 1-on-1, gunner versus kick returner. You're not going to turn the channel. You're going to watch to see if he gets beat or if he makes the tackle.
Well, I don't know if I need to get there yet. I know that they can't you can't provide enough safety for the punt return. And that's where the collisions happen, on the punt returns. Because chances are, how many times were punts not returned? It feels like it's pretty much over 60% where you're probably returning a punt to some degree. All right, we'll get to more phone calls on this. Want to make way for Wright Thompson. Wright Thompson has done profiles on Tiger Woods, Michael Jordan. Like, they're spectacular. It's where you feel like you come out of a book or an article that he's written and you go, I know that person better because of Wright Thompson. He's got a book coming out, and it's on Pappy Van Winkle. If you're a fan of bourbon, then you know about Pappy Van Winkle. And I don't know how much he can talk about this. I just know I got wind that he's writing a book on Pappy Van Winkle. It's really about a relationship between father and son, I think. But it's about Pappy Van Winkle, this great bourbon. And Wright Thompson, man, it'll be, I hope it's for Father's Day, because anything Wright is writing, they should change the spelling of his name. It's W-R-I-G-H-T. It should be W-R-I-T-E, because he is Wright Thompson. And I want to ask him about the Jordan, knowing what he knew about Jordan and knows about Jordan, what did he take away from The Last Dance? He'll have some thoughts on that. Also, Sam Smith, who wrote the Jordan rules, I hope there's a spike in his book, because there's been a whole lot of attention on the Jordan rules and the fact that Michael called Horace Grant the snitch. I wonder what Sam, how he reacted, and what would he say to Jordan about calling Horace Grant the snitch for that book. More phone calls, 21 after the hour on this Traeger Meat Friday. Back after this in the Dan Patrick Show. You check things all the time, your email, your Instagram. Check something important, like your credit. Discover makes it quick and easy. They have something called the Discover Credit Scorecard, and it's free for everyone, even if you're not a customer. What it allows you to do is check your FICO credit scores, and that's the score used by 90% of top lenders, and you can do that for free even if you're not a customer. Checking your score won't hurt your credit, and you can check each month for changes. The Discover Credit Scorecard, free for everyone. Learn more at discover.com/credit scorecard. Limitations apply.
When I first faced Johnson, I was legitimately scared, and it was, and I remember like battling too. It was like, I remember my first bat was 2-2. I was like, foul. And then next thing you know, like Randy Johnson, he's like, I don't know what he was thinking, but like he walks up 10 feet from the plate. I'm like, what's he doing? He grabs the ball, looks at me. I'm like, I just got to get out of here. And I think the next pitch, I choked up, rolled over to second. I was like, thank God I'm out. I don't want this
throw that slider.
Person, like 6'11", 93 mile an hour slider, 100 miles an hour, throwing from behind you, big mullet. Yeah.
That's intimidating. I mean, you're used to seeing a guy who might be 6'3", 6'4", 6'5",
Oh,
who's
yeah,
big.
you don't mind that. 6'11", lefty. I'm like telling Jack McKeon, I think I got a bad back today.
Well, there had to be guys, left-handers, who had the Randy Johnson flu, right?
Yeah, 100%.
You couldn't.
100%.
Yeah, you weren't going to play that next day.
No doubt about it.
Is there a guy nowadays where somebody would
like Sale, Chris Sale? I mean, who wants to face that, right? And it looks like he's just like here, letting it eat. Just here it is, just throwing with conviction. You know what I mean? So
I love watching Sale.
Oh, he's great,
I love watching Scherzer.
Yeah, you know what?
Like guys that just pound the strike zone, they don't waste time.
And here it is. It's nasty in the zone. It's late movement. I'm coming right at you. You know it. I know it. It's like a one-on-one wrestling match, right?
But what's the fastest pitch you think you ever faced?
Joel Zumaya it was like one back in the day when he was with the Tigers. It was like 100. I think it was 103, and I was like, wham! I was like, now that's different. I was like, I've never seen that before. You know what I mean? So,
but okay, so if I throw you 98,
yeah,
and I throw you 103,
yeah,
is there that much of a difference?
Well, if you threw 98 and 93, I mean that's like 93 looks like poop soup. 98 looks like gasoline, right? So then we go to 103. We're like, okay, that's a different ball game. I've never seen that before.
Wait, what's poop soup?
Poop soup's just like when guys are just laying it in there. You know, you come back to the dugout, you're like, what's the guy got? He's like, this guy's got poop.
So he's
yeah, we're gonna get him out in the third, 100%. Put a string together, a couple knocks, boom, he's out of game.
So he's throwing salad.
Yeah, he's like the 4 or 5 starter that's just slopping it up there.
But you face Jamie Moyer, right?
Oh yeah. Oh, Jamie Moyer. I faced Jamie Moyer when he was like 65 years old. I think it was like he was with the Phillies
and still throwing the same.
But it was unbelievable because he would throw a 79-mile-an-hour heater.
Well, not a heater.
Not a heater, but yeah. But his changeup was so good. It was unbelievable. Like I don't think I got a hit. And you walk back to the dugout. You're like, how am I not hitting this guy? Like his changeup was so good. Like, you know, it had 11 mile hour difference. And it was so nasty that his 70-mile-an-hour heater would like look pretty hard.
Summer's here. Perfect time to take your grilling game to another level. Traeger Grill, we got it fired up today. Pulled pork. Taste the wood-fired difference. Contact your local dealer or visit TraegerGrills.com/DP show today. He's Wright Thompson, ESPN senior writer. His most recent story, A History of Flight, traces Michael Jordan's family relationship with rural North Carolina. Also coming out in November, Penguin Press will publish his next book, Pappyland, a story of family, fine bourbon, and the inheritance that matters the most. And Wright Thompson joins us now. Whoa, you're on the beach? What are you doing on the beach?
I don't know, but I need one of those Traeger grills, man. we have a toddler, and so I thought if we didn't get out of our house after 70 days, it was gonna like devolve into like some Lord of the Flies stuff. So we're in Fort Morgan Beach, Alabama.
You got your Atlanta Braves jersey. What year is that jersey from?
Oh, that would be 1982. That was a real team, Dan. We got Claudell Washington, Bob Horner, Chris Chambliss, Rick Mailer, Pascual Perez, Bruce Benedict behind the plate, Dale Murphy, the greatest living American. I don't know.
What is the drink you're going to have after this interview is over? Because you look like you're ready for a drink there. It's sunny. You got your hat on, your shades on. It's 10:30 in the morning.
At the very moment I hang this up, I'm getting an ice cold Budweiser. I just figured the last thing in the world I need is an email from ESPN. Like, really?
Oh, all right. Now, let me dive into this. You came out with this article on Michael Jordan, The History of Flight. The timing of this, based off The Last Dance, the documentary, was this planned all along or just coincidental?
No, it was planned. I mean, it started, my editor is a guy named Eric Neal, and he and I were watching the doc and sort of like, well, they're relentlessly beating this drum about how he is, to the point it became a meme. Like, God, somebody tell Michael Jordan coronavirus was talking smack about him, And we were like, what is it that we're watching exactly? Where does it come from? And what does it mean? And so the story really flowed out of those questions and, trying to understand the cultural moment that we were all living in. And the further and further I went back into his history, the more the dots started connecting for me. And it's weird. I'm sure you've had these stories in your career, but the more I learned about his family history, just the more I wanted to be a custodian of that story and just try to deliver it honestly and tell people what his roots were like. And I felt a great responsibility to get that right.
But what was it that you unearthed that was one of those epiphanies that said, oh, that explains this?
Well, that for 5 or 6, if you count Michael, generations, they have lived in a pretty narrow wedge of North Carolina. I mean, people say he's from Wilmington, and that's true, but not really. I mean, his family is from the country outside of Wilmington. And when you see Michael Jordan as country, and when you see Michael Jordan as having these long rural roots in one tight area of land, you start to realize, one, the things that influenced him and shaped him to be the person that we know, and also all of the souls he carried with him every time he stepped on the court. It really reframed him in a way that I'd never thought about before. And it was as simple as me going and finding his ancestors and seeing where his dad grew up and lived, and the cemetery at the country church where his dad's buried, and literally just putting those little stars on Google Maps and looking at it and be like, this is all in the same place. And I mean, it was no more complicated than that at first.
Why did Jordan do this documentary?
That's a really good question. I have thought about that endlessly. Now, I never asked him because I hadn't talked to him since it came out. But, I feel like, the producer came to pitch him on the morning of one of LeBron's championship parades.
Yeah.
And, I might have been born at night, but it wasn't last night. I feel like one of the most interesting things about it to me is that it exists, and that, it's important to Michael that after, you saw it was at the end of episode 7 when he started crying, thinking about how he treated people and all that this had cost. I mean, I felt like it's important to him that people remember, because he sacrificed a lot for it. And it felt to me that it was, an attempt to remind people, hey, this is what it was like. This is who I was. If you heard Tiger Woods talk about how his kids thought he was a YouTube golfer, Michael Jordan has 6-year-old twins, which I have a 2-year-old toddler, and I'm just getting crushed. I don't know how he's doing it. Although I bet he's got more staff than I've got. Still,
I'm going to get. But right, there was part of me that felt sorry for Jordan in that documentary, because we can look at him and say this made him great. I don't think he can turn that off. I don't know. It was a weird feeling I had. And you spent time with him. Does that make any sense to you?
I have long felt like Michael Jordan is actively engaged in what to do with all of the traits that he so carefully nurtured in himself. And I think that he has thought about that since he retired. And I think that's what the Wizards was. I think that's what the Hall of Fame speech was. I think he is actively engaged in dealing with the idea and the cost of having been Michael Jordan.
We're talking to Wright Thompson, ESPN senior writer. He's got a book out on bourbon. Well, it's not just about bourbon. It's about family. It's about bourbon, Pappy Van Winkle, and the inheritance that matters the most. So he also has his most recent story, The History of Flight, tracing Michael Jordan's family relationship in rural North Carolina. You hung out with Tiger Woods. Like, the similarities between Tiger and Michael, what is that common thread?
Well, a couple things. One, I've written about Tiger. I haven't spent a lot of time around Tiger, but the thing that's interesting to me is that, they were both Tiger was patterned after Michael, like his public life. And I think the thing that's so interesting that we forget is these aren't widgets just to be replaced, like Michael Jordan is an extreme extrovert and Tiger Woods is an extreme introvert. And so there was a little bit of sort of lack of understanding of the person they were dealing with when they constructed his public persona. And so, I think the way that, Jordan handled his better than Tiger handled his, because it fit him in a way that being in public didn't fit Tiger. Jordan is the alpha in the room, so Air Jordan isn't that different from him. And I feel like the public version of Tiger is very different than Tiger.
I also wondered about this with Jordan. Let's say Jordan went 4-2 in NBA Finals. We would be critiquing him by saying, you know what, if he spent more time dedicated and didn't go out, gambling and smoking cigars and playing golf, the fact that he went 6-0, that just adds to the mythology of Michael Jordan.
Well, it's like, what did Abraham Lincoln say about General Grant when somebody was saying, like, he's drinking too much, and Lincoln was like, I want to send all my generals a case of whatever whiskey he's drinking. Maybe Jordan had the right idea.
Speaking of drinking, can you talk about this book that you've written on Pappy Van Winkle?
We're still finishing it, so not a lot, except that it is, it's a story about the history of Pappy Van Winkle bourbon wrapped in with, I guess, my own story. It's a story about a man who makes whiskey and about a man who drinks it. And, I had all these grand literary ambitions because it's really genre bending, and I'm really proud of that part of it. And then somebody read it and was like, oh, it's Eat, Pray, Love for Men. So it's sort of like, I was like, well, yeah, I guess it's that too. I did want to let you, do something cool for your huge and sprawling audience of listeners. So it's available for pre-sale now. It's called Pappy Land. Anybody that goes out and can tweet out a screenshot that says you bought it, you pre-ordered it, and hashtag it Pappy Land so I can find it, and then write a sentence or two about who you want to drink a bottle of this with and why, because ultimately what the book is about is the community of bourbon. And this thing comes out November 10th. And so just keep these things coming, and I'm going to look at all of them. And whichever one moves me the most personally, I'm going to send somebody a free bottle of Pappy. So, pre-order the book, write about who you'd want to share a bottle with and why, tweet it, hashtag Pappyland, and I'm going to send somebody a bottle, because that's what this stuff is really about. It's not about hoarding. It's about sharing, and it's about sharing it with someone who matters a lot to you. And the rarity and the price tag on the bourbon is a way in which you tell that person you're drinking with that you care about them and you love them. And to me, that's what it's really about.
And this audience responded the last book you had out when you came into the studio.
Dude.
Right?
Dude, I walked in there like 37,000 on Amazon, and I walked out of there at number 11 or something.
Yeah.
Like believe me, like when Wallace goes to college, I'm going to be like, now thank Uncle Dan.
Because I told people, if you want the perfect gift, this is a beautiful gift that you can give to anybody. The stories that you had. And I said to you, look, our audience is going to gobble this up. And I think you were like, yeah, right. And this is where I'm going to co-sign on this again. If you want to get your father or grandfather a gift this Christmas, Pappy Land will be that book. And it's not about bourbon, but it is. It's not about relationships, but it is. Like it's one of those where you're reading it and you think you're knee deep in bourbon, and then next thing you know, you're talking about visiting your father's gravesite. But it's all intertwined, and I think it'll be beautifully written because it's by you. But the audience, this November, look for Pappy Land, but order it now, and then do the hashtag Pappy Land, and then let Wright see who you would share that Pappy with, and then he's going to pick out one and send somebody a bottle. I'm looking at the prices here. Pappy's not expensive, right? The secondary market on Pappy is really expensive. So like these are crazy numbers. A 10-year bottle is $51. On the secondary market, $6.85. Here's a 13-year rye is $86. It's $2,000 on the secondary market. Oh, but wait, there's more. The Pappy 25-year-old is $13.50 for the bottle. It's $20,000 on the secondary market there.
Dude,
Ouch.
20 grand, I could buy one of these center console fishing boats that just drove by. I mean, like, and by the way, talking about drinking a bottle with people I care about, when the book comes out on opening day, I'm going to come back. I'm going to fly up there. We're going to do this in person like it's supposed to be done. We're going to go deep on the whole thing. And
wait. What do you mean deep on the whole thing?
Yeah, we're going to sit there, deep on the bottle of whiskey.
Oh, the bottle. Okay.
On your show.
Okay, so you're going to bring in a Pappy, and we'll drink it on the show while I do the interview.
Yeah. Yes.
What year are we drinking? I mean, I don't want to sound
no. Oh, whoa,
no. I'm just saying. I just wanted to know, like 15. What? 15.
15. Happy 15.
All right.
That's my favorite.
I had the 12 the other night. I sent you a picture of that.
I did. I liked that. The 12 is great. I'm gonna bring a bottle of Pappy 15.
Nice.
And,
nice.
And we're gonna get into. We might even give Todd some. I don't know.
Fritzy?
Maybe.
No, that's not a pretty picture. Hey, enjoy the beach. Once again, the book is Pappy Land. Also, the article on ESPN, History of Flight, about Michael Jordan's family with the relationship with rural North Carolina. And look for Pappy Land. Pre-order it. Hashtag Pappy Land, and Wright will read what you say as far as who you would want to share that bottle of bourbon with. Great to talk to you, buddy. Hope you're healthy. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
That's Wright Thompson. If he writes it, I read it. That's how good I think he is. We'll take a break here. Phone calls coming up. And speaking of writers, Sam Smith, who wrote the Jordan Rules, joins us top of the hour here on the Dan Patrick Show.
Shorten your day. And help you out, pal. There you go, shorten.
Oh, good.
I checked with his PR person to make sure he's got strong thoughts, which he says he does.
Okay.
I just got very insulted, Dan. Yeah. We were talking power washing.
Unintentional.
Right.
Unintentional.
Two-a-days asked me if I rent or own a power washer. I mean,
of course you do.
I own.
Yeah.
Years ago, I love power washing. It's direct.
Like what you basically said was like, hey, that guitar, do you rent or own it?
Yes. It's like,
yeah, of course.
Right.
Come on, guy.
I love power washing. It's such a direct payoff.
You're one of the foremost power washers in the Connecticut
area.
area.
When you do the ground area.
Two-a-days.
You hold it, the trigger.
Yeah.
And then you just kind of get this thing going on.
Can we get this working?
I feel like you invented the floss. Is that the dance the kids are doing?
So if you had a power washer.
This was the early, it was called the power washer.
And it just became.
And now the more modern version is that.
And then you just go back to power washer.
Right. Get this. Back in the 80s, kids used to do the power wash.
Can Fritzy do?
I've tried to do that. The kids tried to teach me how to do that.
Is that flossing?
Give it a try just for the show.
Flossing.
I called it what Andrew called it, the
backpack.
What is it? No, he said show the stick, break the stick.
Show the stick.
But I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. It doesn't.
Want me to teach you?
It doesn't.
Hold on, I'll come here.
My daughter tried to show me the other day, and I'm like, I couldn't follow.
Okay, turn this way.
Yeah.
Stephen thinks that the floss was based on middle-aged men power washing their homes.
Okay.
I think in the 80s it was probably called the power wash because if you look at Paul's stance that he takes when demonstrating how he power washes.
All right, he's doing that right now.
He's sort of got a little bit of an arm swing and a hip shimmy going on. That's very reminiscent. It's like a primitive form of flossing.
Okay.
I feel like the modern version of it, this is what it's turned into.
And then he was trying to teach Fritzy how to floss.
Which didn't quite go as well.
No, but here they are. Two men holding on to one another. Yeah. And he's teaching Fritzy how to floss.
Okay. Something like that. I had it for a minute there.
He lost it.
I've never felt.
Like I was uncomfortable watching that.
Try being physically connected.
Oh, I know. Sweaty paws all
Nipples
over.
sticking in my face.
All right.
If it wasn't already done,
Yeah.
this may be the moment that flossing was officially killed. If it wasn't already completely
Yeah.
over, this definitely was the final nail in the coffin.
Yeah. I don't think it's a thing anymore, but it's definitely not a thing anymore after that.
I think you can't consciously change things. It's gonna sound weird. I can't consciously change things like with things like this, but you had that head dip where your head went down like 4 inches.
Yeah, so it goes.
You barely do it anymore, and I think and you can't do it in one day. I think you have to like almost like subconsciously.
It's like reps kind of thing.
Yep. And yeah, still going down a little.
Well,
Not like half of it.
yeah,
You want a piece of
Tyler,
fruit?
you want to give one a rip?
Yeah, I do.
Or what?
I think we got a new set of lefties,
right there, dog.
Dust them off.
So we got
You got a
going.
driver? You have a lefty.
Oh boy.
Is this a bad idea?
Just wait till Seaton's out of the way.
Wait till everybody's out of the way.
There we go.
Just hit these ground balls up the middle. Although at Pebble, I got the ball to actually go up in the air a little bit.
50 yards dead ahead.
That's my that's my goal here.
Let's go best out of 3. Give it another one.
The goal is to get
Your
it up.
baseline right now is 50 yards.
Yeah.
Can you double that in a month?
That's not good.
See that left foot? Don't move it.
I keep doing that bowling thing.
Did you ever consider just not moving your feet and keeping them on the ground?
At all? I don't know.
I'm not that. I don't have a very good golf swing, but I do know that the one thing you can't do is step like that.
I mean, like
That's way better.
That didn't go.
Body turn.
Now, why can't I get it off the? Am I better off with one of the other clubs to like actually get it up?
It's not the club.
It's definitely not the.
I wouldn't blame
it's
the club.
definitely me. I don't know if I have a better shot with one of the other.
Sad to report, Jerry Sloan, former Utah Jazz head coach, has passed away. Passed away this morning due to complications from Parkinson's and dementia. He was 78 years of age. I'm so old, I saw Jerry Sloan play in the NBA with the Chicago Bulls, and then, of course, to be around him. I didn't get to know him during the NBA Finals, but he was there a long time. And, it's synonymous when you say Stockton and Malone that you should say Jerry Sloan as well, because he pretty much epitomized that organization. But Hall of Fame basketball coach Jerry Sloan passing away at the age of 78. We have our Discover Moment of the Week, and we take you back to the first hour of the show when Chris Webber told a great story about Michael Jordan.
I really feel I'm a really good teammate because I was always about my teammates. That was my goal, to get you the ball, to make sure, because they do so much for you. And this is the one day I wasn't a good friend or a teammate. We pull into the Bulls Arena, right up under there where you're parking. You can see little restaurants and everything, and getting off with my suit and my bag, in game mode. And Juwan is in front of me walking off the bus. I'm talking junk to him, whispering in his ear. And we get off the bus, and directly across, like a cartoon, like a movie, like Shaft. Yeah, he was like Shaft. Like Jordan was sitting back on the Ferrari, smoking a cigar before the game. And this series, I think we played them 3 games and they only beat us by 7 points total. So we thought we were hot stuff. And we get off and he goes, "Hey, Webb, who's checking me?" And I looked at Juwan, and we both looked back at Calvin Chaney and did like this. That was so whack of us, man. That was so wrong of us, man. And I think he gave us 53, 55 or something, something like that. It was so crazy. I remember telling Juwan when Jordan was on the free throw line, I was like, he sold his soul. He sold his soul to the devil to be good in basketball. And he looked at me like, maybe I did, maybe I didn't.
That's great. And maybe there is some truth there. Did he sell his soul to be this great, to be this person? Get your free credit scorecard today, even if you're not a Discover customer. Includes your FICO credit score. Checking your scorecard won't hurt your credit. Learn more at discover.com/credit. Scorecard, limitations apply. Dale in Indiana joins us. Hi, Dale. What do you have for me today?
5'9", 180. Yeah, I watched the Last Dance documentary. We've talked a lot about and kind of criticized some of the things Jordan does. But the one thing we haven't criticized, and I think Seton will have my back on this, is his taste in music. Kenny Lattimore. I mean, I don't know if he's in my top 5 artists named Kenny.
There's Kenny G and Kenny Loggins, Kenny Rogers.
I think there's an Allman brother named Kenny too, so I'd put him in there.
All right. Well, thank you, Dale. I didn't really think of that with Michael's music taste. Yes, Eden.
I'm not gonna back him on that just because, R&B, soul, gospel music isn't necessarily my wheelhouse. So I'm not nearly educated enough. But it is another one of those fascinating things that's revealed by Michael Jordan. That even in that moment, he's Michael Jordan. Okay, he's the absolute king of the sports world, and he's still like, "Yeah, I got this album, not even out yet," and he still feels like I'm special. He's a friend of mine. He gave it to me. Album's not even out yet.
Yeah. Marvin in Iowa. Hi, Marvin. What do you have for me?
Hey, DP, 5'10", 220.
All right.
The governor of Iowa and the governing boards of the Iowa High School Association just granted within the last couple of days for summer high school baseball to start in Iowa, practice June 1st and games June 15th. With times being how they are, do you think people would tune in and watch that if somebody chose to broadcast it?
Yeah, probably so in Iowa. But thanks for the phone call. Look, we're watching Korean baseball. I'd watch it. Yeah, I'm fine with it. Weber was right. Jordan scored 55 points in Game 2 at Chicago. And the average margin of victory was 6 points per game. Yeah, these guys, they all have those memories where you go, yep, that's not leaving my memory bank anytime soon. Denny in Ohio. Hi, Denny. What do you have for me today?
Good morning, Dan. From old listener of WVUD, 6'2", about 210 now.
All right.
The wife wanted me to call you, and I need to call you. I need your help.
Uh-oh.
We were out of things to watch, and you haven't. We caught on to Bosch, went through it, went through Ozark, and now we're on HGTV 24/7. I need help.
Well, Denny, I hate to break it to you, but you might have to break down and talk to your wife and have a grown-up discussion or something. Get to know her.
Well, I try to do that, but I need your help because she loved Bosch and she loved Ozark. So
what about Better Call Saul?
Better Call Saul?
Yeah.
That'll work.
Yeah,
we'll call you next week.
Yeah, you got 4 seasons of Better Call Saul, and call me next week, Denny. If you're still married, everything's good. Call me. If not, then don't call me. Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right, Denny. There you go. Yes, Eden.
I hate to break it to Denny too, but most of the shows we're going to recommend are some type of home renovation show anyway. So
yeah,
if it's not going to be on HGTV,
yeah.
it's going to be on one of the other channels.
Yeah, building off the grid.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Main Cabin Masters. Chip and Joanna. I've watched, although they're on their own network, like Magnolia or something like that. Yes, Paul.
If real men are building something in a remote state, we're watching.
Yeah. All righty. Coming up, we'll talk to Sam Smith. He wrote the Jordan Rules. I want to know how he reacted when he heard Jordan talk about Horace Grant being the snitch, the source for Sam Smith's book, The Jordan Rules. 2 hours in the books, 1 more to go. Seton Paulie, Fritzy McLovin, yours truly here on The Dan Patrick Show. Now, how many point? What does a game constitute? When does the game end?
When you run out of beer.
And it's called spike ball. And you two are teammates, and you guys are teammates. Yeah. Okay. Oh. Whoa. They're Kenny G. I've seen it played.
Yeah.
I've seen it played well, I think is what I think. Spike ball. Oh, I realize that. No. I
think the game ends when you run out of beer.
But you don't hit it again.
So how do you think this was created, Dan? Like
alcohol?
Yeah. But like, what was the product they used besides,
Yeah,
to invent
how would they
this?
have come up with that?
You know those little mini trampolines that
Yeah.
people use for exercise? Oh. You're the Karch Karai of spike ball.
Yeah, Weeks is. Buckle up, boys. Time to go to work.
You have people all over the world taking pay cuts, losing their jobs, losing their lives.
If I'm going to play, I should be getting money I signed to be getting paid.
It's always about money.
So remarkably tone deaf. I'm not playing unless I get mine.
Stop talking.
On top of that, it's getting taxed.
If you want 1994 all over again, fine, go ahead and have it. Just don't have it in the middle of a pandemic.
So, tough transition.
This is going to be a bad idea.
But speaking of sacrifices,
Attention.
Happy Memorial Day weekend from the Dan Patrick Show.
I knew it was going to be a tough segue, but horrible job.
Man, you ought to be ashamed.
Shouldn't be just a designated day, weekend, holiday. Should be every day that we remember our military service people.
Grateful for the freedoms to broadcast from the Mercedes Man Cave. This is Dan Patrick.
Welcome to the program, final hour. Dan and the Danettes, Dan Patrick Show. Last night, our IT guy, Alan, came in. He was using the Traeger grill. He put some pulled pork on there, and he said it's going to take 12 hours. And he came back last night. I forget what time he texted me, and he said, it's done. And I said, what's done? He goes, the pulled pork. 12 hours. Now, our computers don't work, but our IT guy did make some great pulled pork on the Traeger. We'll have that pulled pork coming up a little bit later on this hour. I was also looking at Michael Jordan and his relationship with Memorial Day weekend. He had some great Memorial Day weekends in his career. 1989, that's the Saturday before Memorial Day. He had 46 in a win over Detroit. Made the game-winning jump shot. 1990, On Saturday, he had 47. And then on Memorial Day, he had 42. Beat Detroit in both of those games. 1991 Memorial Day. Bulls finish a sweep of Detroit. Pistons walked off, no handshakes. 1993 Memorial Day. Jordan, 54 in a win over New York. 1996 Memorial Day, he has 45 as the Bulls finish a sweep of Orlando in the Eastern Conference Finals. We bring in Sam Smith. Sam, of course, wrote The Jordan Rules about Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls. And it's hopefully got a spike in new book sales there, Sam, because Jordan talked about it in The Last Dance, and he singled out Horace Grant, one of his former teammates, as a snitch. Your reaction when you heard Jordan talk about that is Horace Grant as your snitch was what, Sam?
Yeah, I think we were talking about it with Todd the other day. Not to celebrate myself, but that's what we do on TV, right? But I had about a dozen years as investigative reporting and doing a number of things involved. Knew Phil Jackson from the CBA, spending time with him, Johnny Bach, from the early years when he was coach of the Warriors. He's from Brooklyn, so he was a longtime friend. Tex Winter, I used to sit with on the plane for years. In fact, one time he brought me, I was trying to understand the offense. So he brought me the book, his original triple post offense book that he had signed for his mother. And I said, well, Tex, I can't have your book you signed for your mother. He said, well, she died. She doesn't need it. And so, and so the notion was, well, I had to wait after all this till 1988 till a 22-year-old kid from rural Georgia came along and say, now I can do a book on this subject. So, yeah, I've sort of, kind of laughed at it after all those years about, trying to explain. When Michael says something, hey, people say, well, Michael said it, I'm not going to be wrong.
But I know you're not going to give up your sources, but was Michael correct at all in Horace Grant being now you would call it a source, Michael called it a snitch.
Well, doing that kind of, you're in journalism, so doing that kind of project, everybody's the source.
Yeah.
Phil Jackson, Johnny Bach, Jerry Reinsdorf, Jerry Krause even. I had dinner on the road a couple of times, as frightening as that might sound, with Jerry Krause. When we were in Portland, one time I was hanging around in I think it was that season actually, in the lobby. Jerry came down to change his room 7 times, which he did quite a bit. He didn't like the mattress. He always had some issue. He said, hey, let's go have dinner. And I couldn't think fast enough. And so I ended up going.
But why do you think Michael singled out Horace?
Well, I think because you saw this and, some of the reaction after The Last Dance with Horace and some of the players, being upset, sort of their documentary, I'm Cutting In. Horace stood up to Michael a lot back then, and a lot of the elements of the documentary early on, settling grudges kind of thing. Michael takes names and remembers. So Jerry Krause, Isaiah, and Horace in an odd way was sort of a protector for Scotty. Early on, Scotty,
really?
Yeah, Scotty early on. They were incredibly close. Literally would call each other before every game to decide what they were wearing, went out and bought the same cars, bought the same dogs. They were inseparable. But Scotty was kind of seduced by Michael's aura and the attention with Michael, and he would gravitate over toward Michael. And then Michael, when he was sort of in his arc there, he didn't always, he didn't always treat you with perhaps the respect you'd like. So Scotty would come back to Horace and complain about, what he said to me and this and sort of that. And so Horace would stand up to Mike sometimes. And, when things happen, he wasn't as articulate, as quick, as facile. And so it didn't come off as cleverly. But, that they had a long history of that. And then of course, Horace being the one when he left and went to Orlando. And when the year Michael came back in 95, it was Horace who really, of course, Shaq and Penny were the best players. But what Phil had done in that series, realizing Horace not a great shooter, he doubled off Horace every time. Horace shot like 70% in the series, really hits the winning baskets. And then the Magic players lift him on their shoulders, carry him off. Horace raising his hand, sort of pointing at Michael.
Oh.
By the way, there was no after the end of that series, there was no teammates players going to congratulate the other team. Michael stalked off pretty fast after that one too. So he remembers a lot of evidence with Horace.
How's this playing in Chicago?
This has been great. This has been obviously in a lot of places in the country, it's kept us, giving us something to look forward to. But for Chicago, it's been particularly special because it's not a city with a great history of sports success. Cubs 100 years until a World Series, 108 as it turned out. And here was a celebration of when it wasn't New York or Boston or LA. Chicago was the center of the sports world for a decade. And so for the local community, it's, especially with the Bulls having issues in the last, couple of decades, it's been a terrific opportunity to remember and, sort of puff your chest out and say, hey, we were number one.
Talking to Sam Smith, he wrote The Jordan Rules, co-author of Derrick Rose's autobiography, I'll Show You, which is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. How are the book sales for The Jordan Rules? Has there been a spike since the documentary?
It's really interesting. I'm making the same on that as I am for this appearance. The book is out of print, and they haven't printed anymore.
They haven't?
No, they... It was sort of like one of those. Oh yeah, that would be a good idea. I think it's probably occurring to him right now that maybe it'd be a good idea. But I went and looked on Amazon. I couldn't buy one because people were asking me. They say, "Well, could you give me a book?" I said, "Well, let me see if I could buy it." I couldn't buy.
Oh wow!
So you don't pay for appearances, do you, Dan?
No, we don't.
Oh,
no.
All right, so I'm still even with the publisher.
Have you thought about adding an extra chapter to the Jordan Rules?
Yeah, actually, just now, publishers, ever since I realized doing books, they're mostly good at just printing. They're really printers, sort of a version of what Benjamin Franklin was doing. So I think it's kind of occurred to them now. And so they just literally at the end of the documentary got back to me and said, well, we're thinking of, maybe printing another edition, of course, later this year. And maybe you could write something for it. So, yeah. So I probably will end up doing that, but I haven't yet.
Also, the whole flu game now became food poisoning. Why, after all of these years, that Michael never addressed this or clarified it until we got to the documentary? Why would he do it?
Well, it wasn't food poisoning. They made that up. There were several things based on a true story kind of thing in this, and that was one of them. I mean, I know in our society we like to believe in conspiracies a lot because they're a lot more fun and interesting than the truth. Sort of like Michael being kicked out of the NBA, and which they addressed quite a bit because of the gambling and everything, which obviously wasn't the case. And David Stern and Brian McIntyre and Mark Vancil, any number of people commented on that. People, associated, but he wasn't poisoned. That's not what happened. And I mean, the story, if you watched, you did, and watching the documentary, I mean, seriously, 5 people, Michael Jordan, the most protected, nobody knows where he is, secure person. All of a sudden, 5 guys from a pizza place. And by the way, who's ordering pizza in Salt Lake City? But beyond that, and they were in Park City.
What do you think happened, Sam?
He was ill. There's no question. I think he had something that wasn't as manly as maybe some other episodes. I think because what they were doing, they were going up to Park City in the mountains in the ski area to stay. That's where they stayed. So they had to practice in Salt Lake City. So they kept coming in and out. And I think it was altitude sickness. The symptoms that he had fit that much more than anything else that he had. And so there was some sort of illness. There was no question he was ill. I wouldn't deny that. He definitely was.
Yeah.
He was sick, but he wasn't poisoned.
Yeah, but I don't understand. Why not just let this sleeping dog lie that it's the flu game? We've
Yeah.
We celebrated this. I mean, now all of a sudden, even when he says it, Sam, in the documentary, he doesn't say it in a convincing manner that he had food poisoning. He looks away. He says it and he looks away. Like, hey, I gotta believe this. It was food poisoning. And I'm thinking, you got away with this. It was the flu. Now all of a sudden it might be throw in a Cuban cigar or two, some drinks, and altitude sickness, and you got a guy who looks gray when he walks into the building that night.
Well, you're right. People always have said a hangover and stuff. And to me, that was sort of irrelevant because Michael never slept, got up and played golf, 3 hours of sleep. If he drank, smoked cigars, that was, 13 years of stuff. And he still went out and got 50. So that had nothing to do with it. Yeah, right. There was no reason to.
Yeah.
But it was also, part of it was I think you didn't need to add drama to this documentary. It was a great show otherwise, the Jordan story. But it was like, they had the beginning and, the theme of 82-0, Jerry Krause, you're never coming back, and that's it. So you got to end the documentary also in a similar way. He didn't want to play that next year. He could have in any number of ways. So he sort of made that up too at the end that I wish I could have come back. I wanted to come back. He didn't want to come back. There was a whole team there other than Scotty who, was limited by the time at the end of the finals, had to have back surgery again, went to Houston, had a poor season, left him there, went to Portland. He was just a role player. So they had Kukoc, Harper, Winnington, Brown. There were numbers. There was a number of the team there, and they had money for free agent. They actually added Brent Barry that season, who was a good free agent. So if he wanted to stay, and Rodman, of course, was coming back for the 1 year, he was begging them for that 1 year deal. And so if he wanted the 1 year and the $40 million, he could have gotten it. And he just didn't want to play. I mean, we saw it with Ahmad and all those scenes that, hey, I've had enough. I'm out of here. I got to move on. But it was a better story to end it that way, to say, hey, yeah, one more chance, going for 7. I should have done, we could have done that. And no, he didn't want to do that. But, the other thing, too, about that is we always complain about all these athletes, Unitas and Willie Mays and Ricky Henderson, whatever. Why did they do? Why didn't they just quit on top? We did. He quit on top. We should be celebrating that.
He left us wanting more, and then he came back to the Wizards.
Well, we don't count that.
Oh, we don't. That wasn't in the documentary, therefore it doesn't exist.
Exactly, and it shouldn't be. Well, that one was I was the GM, as you remember. He's the GM of the Wizards. He had supposedly part ownership, and part of Michael is, look, if he could, he would come back and play now because some of these guys in the documentary challenged him and said he couldn't do it. Brian Russell didn't get interviewed, probably said I could take him now, and he would come back and play again if he could, and he would try. That's who the guy is. He was always about the game more than anything. Yeah, had the famous love of the game clause in his first contract. He really wasn't about the advertising and the marketing. And you saw his mom made him go out to, you got to go see Nike. He just wanted to play, and so that's his nature of the guy. So he couldn't help himself when he went with the Wizards because he's looking around at all these guys and, he's beating them. He says, I could beat you all in practice. So he's GM and he's playing them all in practice and beating them. So he says, well, I'll go out and play anyway. So, that was just a wonderful part about the guy. You just never could stop him. He just wanted to play games all the time.
Sam, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. And, good luck with the Derrick Rose book. And thank you for sharing these stories.
Great to talk to you as usual, Dan.
That's Sam Smith, the Jordan Rules and the I'll Show You autobiography, Derrick Rose and Sam Smith, available now at triumphbooks.com, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and through your local independent bookstores. Fascinating. Altitude sickness. Can we look at the symptoms? Like what happens with altitude sickness? Paulie?
Yeah, it's oxygen deprivation. Nausea is very common. Vomiting is very common with altitude sickness, and it doesn't go away the moment you go back to natural altitude. And, Dan, we looked up, Salt Lake City is 4,200 square feet. Park City, 7,000 square feet. Back to you.
Oh, above sea level.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. when he says it, he had something that wasn't manly. I'm thinking, wait, what did Michael have here? Like, whoa, yes, Eaton.
So did he get altitude sickness flying back from Vegas?
Oh, don't start it.
Did they just
don't start it?
Oh, come on, altitude sickness now?
Well,
it's hilarious. People just keep throwing out things.
I don't know. It's fun. I don't know. Like, okay. Something happened in Park City. Let's put it that way. Something did.
Isn't that the name of a Bob Dylan song?
Something happened in Park City?
Park City.
Yeah. That could be a country song. Something happened in Park City. I got altitude sickness, but I told him it was food poisoning. Although it could have been the flu. Although I could have flown to Vegas. Maybe none of it's true. 5 guys showed up. I'm workshopping this here. I'm going to figure this out here and get my country song there. Let me see. A couple of phone calls in here, and then we'll take a break. Jeff in Detroit. Do you smell that pulled pork on the Traeger, Paulie?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Hi, Jeff.
Listen, man, why are you doing me like this? And then you know I love Meat Friday. Alan's segment on how to cook a steak. You know that was me the other day, for real. Hey, listen, Dan. What up, though? One time for Chat Row. Got a chance to play against C-Webb. He dunked on me, basically. Really nice guy. St. Cecilia here in Detroit, man. And his passion has always been underrated. Always been underrated. He was talking about how he liked to get his ball to his peoples. Man, listen, that guy right there could pass. I'd like to say thank you to all the veterans that are listening. Thank you for your sacrifice, the things that you guys do in making this world, as well as the United States, a lot safer for us.
Thank you, Jeff. Well said. Well said. Jesse in Los Angeles. Hey, Jesse, what do you have for me?
Hey, Dan. Good morning. Dan Ben. That's 5'10", still a hard 173. Just wanted to say great show today. It's an honor to go right after Jeff in Detroit. Comment and question, if that's okay. The Wright Thompson, you introduced us to him, or at least me. That was a great interview. The article about Jordan's childhood and his parents, only that guy can tie the Hatfields and the McCoys to Michael Jordan and Air Jordan. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Question for you, and I'm sorry to do this on a Meat Friday, but I'm wondering, does ESPN release a daily list for our entertainment or just to keep pissing you off? Because they released an all-time starting 5 of some teams, and missing from the Warriors, all-time starting 5, is a guy who averaged 40 points in the finals in a losing series, and then actually single-handedly won another final, sweeping the Bullets and Wes Unseld. I'm 33 years old, and I know who Rick Barry is. They got Draymond Green ahead of the guy.
Oh, I know. It's embarrassing. Thank you, Jesse. I didn't even address that because it was going to drive me crazy. Yeah, Paul.
Again, yeah, ESPN did starting 5s for each team historically, and the starting 5 for the Warriors, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant, who spent a long time there, Draymond Green, and Will Chamberlain. Wouldn't you think that, what's his name from St. John's? Chris Mullin?
Yeah.
Wouldn't he make it over? He had a long career there, Chris Mullin.
Yeah. I don't know what they're basing this off of. But to not have Rick Barry there, who almost single-handedly helped you win a title, Rick Barry put up some pretty good numbers for the Warriors. Draymond Green on any other team is just another player. You know, with the Warriors, he served a role. And at times he was brilliant in that role. But he's not carrying a team. No. Chris Mullin was, I mean, look at, how many years was Chris Mullin? You know, let me take a break here because I'm going to explode again. And I'm
going to inundate you with lists.
Okay. We'll take a break. Yes, Seton.
I just Googled greatest warriors of all time, and Attila the Hun came up.
Oh,
so
okay.
I'm on the wrong path.
Okay.
Great in the low post, Attila.
No Spartacus in there? Really? Really, ESPN?
We're going to take a break here. We're going to take a break here. I'm going to go and shoot some hoops here in the man cave, and then we'll come back and we'll politely, professionally discuss this. Back after this on the Dan Patrick Show.
Fellas, it's time for another episode in This Day in Questionable Parenting. My 11-year-old daughter pulled me aside last night and said, Dad, have you ever heard the phrase ding dong ditch? And I said, yes, I have, Peyton. Where did you hear it? She goes, oh, I saw it on a show. And so she knows what it is. I know what it is. And she goes, did you ever do that when you were a kid? How should I answer that question, Dan? And the rest of you guys, feel free to jump in. Everyone knows what ding dong ditch means.
Well, I think you can say that you did it, but you regret doing it, and it was not the right thing to do, and that you were disappointed, and your parents were disappointed.
That
in
would
you.
be lying to my daughter, because I had a blast doing it. I probably only did it like 3 or 4 times. I was not a truant.
Well, if you tell your daughter the truth all the time, then tell her the truth, and then there's no discussion.
Right.
I think it might be a couple must-lie situations.
So admit that I did it, but say, hey, that's a bad road to go down?
Yes.
What do you guys think?
I think the same. You want to be honest that you, in fact, partook or partaked in that type of behavior, but you have to make it sound like it was a very bad choice and it's not something you can do and you regretted doing it. That's the best way to handle it, even if you had an awesome time and you did it multiple times.
I'm interested in Seaton's response here, Andy, before we get to you.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would probably say something similar, like, yeah, I did, but you shouldn't. It was bad.
But I don't want her not to do it. I would like her to do it maybe once or twice and just check that box and move on with her life. I don't want that white whale out there. I don't want her being 35 years old going, I never ding-dong ditched anybody. And now when you do it at 35, it's less funny and more of a crime, I think.
I would probably just make it sound stupid. You'd be like, yeah, okay, so you went up there and you rang the bell and then you ran away.
Andrew, how about this?
Why don't you go play somewhere else? It's dumb.
Andy, you're a smart guy. What if I said, I want you to do it, but I want to be with you when you do it? So she and I go out, do one quick ding-dong ditch, and move on.
Yeah, what is ding dong ditch exactly? I was such a goody two shoes. I never did it actually. I could tell it truthfully. So.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I didn't have to
You ring
lie.
the doorbell and then you run.
Hence,
Yeah, but now everybody has the video of you ringing said doorbell and running away because everybody's got a ring camera on their doorbell.
See, I don't have to lie. I was such a little nerd that I never did it. I feel bad now. Wow. Polly, I'll go with your daughter so I can experience
I'll
it.
take you and my daughter out ding-dong ditching. Problem solved.
Don't feel bad, McLovin. I haven't done that either, but I did do the dine and dash thing a couple of times at diners growing up with friends where we realized we didn't have enough money or one of the ringleaders decided that whether we had enough money or not, we weren't going to be paying for anything. And looking back, that was absolutely horrible, especially for the waiter or waitress to get no tip. And I don't know if it comes out of their pay or something that we didn't leave even a penny. We just ran out when they weren't looking, which I think is much worse than ringing a doorbell, obviously.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, that's stealing.
Yes. You're a truant.
Terrible.
Notice all 5 of us are looking away like, yeah, that's terrible. How can you ever do that, Todd?
Yeah, it's funny. When we first started this conversation, that's what I thought we were talking about. And then I was like, oh, wait, this is just ringing the doorbell. Oh, who cares?
I'll be honest. I thought we were talking about the, fleeing the House of Pancakes.
Yeah, me too.
So we could continue this on during the segment and do the if you've ever run out on a bill.
So what the heck, ding dong ditch? That's the lamest thing I ever heard of. You just ring the doorbell and run away?
There was another phrase for it growing up, and I don't remember what it was called, but ding dong ditch I think is universally accepted.
It was oddly just thrilling as a kid.
Oh,
He ran up. Who was going to be the person that was going to run up and ring the doorbell, and then everybody scattered?
The best if you had like a low-rise apartment complex in your neighborhood, like in south of Chicago, you'd have like a 6-flat. And you go and go ding, 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 and then run out the thing. All right, here's
Seaton's
one.
exactly right, though. With that new technology, everybody would ring. Everybody would see it.
You're like, hey, Molly Paps, just ring the
Ding.
doorbell.
We'd like to talk to you about
Once
your
you
daughter.
call the Paps, text Dana and see what they need.
Yeah, we're missing some Amazon packages. We'd like to talk to your daughter.
Busted.
It is a Meat Friday. Got the Traeger fired up. Pulled pork. Man, I love Fridays. Go to your local dealer. Visit TraegerGrills.com/DP show today. Paulie just informed me, because I said, wait a minute here. You're trying to tell me the all-time Golden State Warrior team includes Wilt Chamberlain, who played for the Philadelphia Warriors. This is on ESPN.com. So Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, Draymond Green, Wilt Chamberlain. Are these the best players or the best team according to the ESPN NBA writers?
Quote, we asked our NBA writers to come up with an all-time starting five for every current NBA franchise, along with an old-time team or something. Only players' contributions during the time with that franchise were considered. That means LeBron James wouldn't be on the Lakers. And it's basically what team you'd compete with. But you can't. It has to be a team. It has to be a team like by position. You can't have four centers.
No, you can. Look at the Lakers. They got Kareem and Shaq. Yeah. They got Jerry West and Kobe Bryant are shooting guards.
They added some flexibility in choosing a lineup, but you won't see a team with four centers or 3 point guards.
No, there's 2 centers on here, not 3.
The idea was to dive into a team's history and create a group that could potentially share the floor together. It's about building a team from your...
Okay, Rick Barry should be on there instead of Klay Thompson. Okay? Rick Barry should be on there instead of Draymond Green. Wilt Chamberlain didn't play for the Golden State Warriors. He played for the Philadelphia Warriors.
They're counting that because it's the Warriors franchise, even different city.
Please. You can put Nate Thurman in there if you want to, but not Wilt Chamberlain. See, I was doing well, Paulie. I almost made it. I had a half hour to go.
Should I save this for Monday?
No, we're not here Monday. And don't save it for Tuesday either. The Lakers have Magic, Jerry West, Kobe Bryant, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and Shaquille O'Neal. So that right there, their logic is flawed, or the criteria is flawed. I got 2 shooting guards, and I've got 2 centers for the Lakers. The Rockets have James Harden, Calvin Murphy, Tracy McGrady, Rudy Tomjanovich, Hakeem Olajuwon. I'm fine with that. I'm sure there's somebody who's left out.
You know, the one that bothers me the most is the great starting five for the history of the Minnesota Timberwolves. Ricky Rubio is on the all-time starting five. What did he do? Wow. He was an average to below average player.
Chris Mannix has to be thrilled.
No offense.
Yeah. No offense. No offense taken. Bob in Seattle joins us. Hey, Bob, what do you have for me?
Morning, fellas.
Morning.
6 foot, 175. Right knee microfracture surgery survivor as well.
Ooh, okay.
Here in Seattle, we climb a lot of mountains, and I personally have been up to 24,000 feet, and mountain sickness is no joke. Just want to bring that to light. That is very debilitating.
All right. Yeah, I believe it. But, you know, let's be honest here. Jordan just drove to Park City. He didn't climb a mountain.
He's in a suite.
Would it be bad for his brand if Air Jordan got air sickness, air altitude sickness? Yeah, Paul.
In all seriousness, Sam Smith said he thinks it's altitude. A little slip there. If back in the day it was announced that Jordan almost couldn't play in a game because he stayed at a different hotel than the rest of the team, and the team doctors said, hey, you shouldn't be staying at a high altitude, that could be something that would be frowned upon, if that were the reason. But blaming a pizza is...
But you went... We were fine with the flu. Nobody was questioning the flu. It's like Michael wanted to add another element, like degree of difficulty here. Yeah, you know, you probably thought I had the flu. I was actually almost poisoned. Yes,
I might be mistaken. My memory might be failing me, but I thought one of the biggest conspiracies of Michael Jordan's career was, did he have the flu or was he out all night partying?
Yeah.
So I don't really know that we did move on from everybody accepted the flu game. Could you imagine if he ignored the flu game in this documentary? We would be killing him.
Yeah, but he could have just... He didn't have to say food poisoning.
Maybe that's what he thinks it was.
But if that's the case, then why did you wait 22 years to correct that? He's been interviewed before, and now he's going to correct it? Nah, I don't know. I'm guessing he had some cigars, he had some beverages, and maybe he had altitude sickness. Maybe. He had something. I know that. I was just surprised that Jordan added something to that and went, You know what I had? Food poisoning. And then all of a sudden, you're going, wait, what? And now we're tracking down the Pizza Hut assistant manager to find out if it's true. And who are these 5 guys who went to his room? And we're going to find out about this. I don't know. I enjoyed the documentary. It was based on a true story. Let's put it that way. As Sam Smith pointed out, it's a nice documentary based on a true story. Yes, McLovin.
Okay, is this going to put a bow on the flu game? Are we done? You think,
No, because we did, I think. Now, you can say, was he out? Yeah, maybe he did have the flu. He was sick, but now it's food poisoning, and now you're finding out, was it really food poisoning? I don't know. It just opened it up where more people are going to talk about this, and why would Jordan not tell the truth? I don't know. Why would he say food poisoning? He was good with the flu. We were fine with it. It was known as the flu game. We didn't say the hungover game. It was called the flu game. Yes, Seton O'Connor.
It seems like unless Michael Jordan said, okay, fine, all right, I was out partying all night and I was super hungover, and that's why I had the flu. It wasn't really the flu. I was like massively hungover. That's probably the only story that people would accept.
No, we would accept altitude sickness.
Nobody would be saying today, like, wait a minute, I know Jordan said he was out all night partying. I think that's a cover for altitude sickness. A single person alive would say that.
I think if he said, look, I thought I had the flu, but I was told later I had altitude sickness. Who's going to argue with that? Because then he's saying something like, man, I'm vulnerable here. Not, hey, I was partying and I didn't care, I was up all night. It's got to be somebody else's fault. Somebody didn't, they didn't make a pizza correctly, and I got sick because of it. If he said altitude sickness, I think it would have looked bad for a guy named Air Jordan that he got altitude sickness. That's all. The Jordan illness. Maybe he had too many of those Cuban cigars. I've had Cuban cigars where my head's spinning, where you turn green. I've seen people throw up with Cuban cigars. But Mike smoked a lot. He smoked on game day. Yeah, McLovin.
Maybe you could do a supplementary line of clothes. Thin Air Jordan. Thin Air.
Got it?
Yeah.
Got it.
Thank you, Todd.
You know what you just did, McLovin? You opened the door for Fritzy.
Boy.
Here we go. What do you got, Todd?
And I was just thinking about like bad attitude, bad altitude, something along those lines.
No, that's not good.
Not good.
No. We're workshopping it, though. It's like
Take some time.
my country song about Jordan. All right, some phone calls here. Drew in Texas. Hi, Drew. What do you have for me?
Hey, how's everybody doing today?
Great, Drew.
Yeah, I was just going to throw in there that at a high altitude, alcohol doesn't really mix in your system. Yeah, I think everybody knows that, but I'm just going to key on that. I think that's what it was. If you've ever experienced that, it's definitely debilitating.
Yeah, I've never had altitude sickness. At least I don't think. I've been in Park City, but I don't. I remember walking a lot in Park City, and you have to get used to it. Like there's a shortness of breath there, and you don't realize it at the time, but you're like, wow, I'm laboring here. I don't know if going back and forth from Salt Lake to Park City, if that would have, I don't know how you contract altitude sickness. I don't know what you are doing that will bring it on or increase the chances of you getting it. Scott in Montana joins us. Hi, Scott.
Hey, Dan, 6 foot, 195. And yeah, I was living down in Salt Lake during those 2 years, and you really got to be doing something physically exhausting to get altitude sickness in combination with dehydration. So I just got to believe that, with Mike and Gatorade, if it gets out that he's got altitude sickness, man, that looks bad on Gatorade. So I would add plausible acceptance to the whole altitude sickness thing. And I got to correct Paulie. He said that Salt Lake's at 4,000 square feet. It's at 4,000 feet of elevation.
Did I say square feet?
Yeah. He kind of shortchanged you on how big Salt Lake City was. He was on a roll. I was going to let him go. It's rolling. A Friday, last hour.
Densely populated 4,000 square feet, though.
Lovely city.
Oh, Tilly in Bloomington joins us. Hi, Tilly. What do you have for me?
Hey, Dan.
Hi,
First
Tim.
off, hey, you guys have a good weekend, man. Good holiday weekend. If possible, with the unfortunate passing of Jerry Sloan this morning, I had some Jerry Sloan stat of the day info with hat tip to my guy Jake Query in Indianapolis, who put it out on Twitter. So if it's possible, could I get a little hate breed for this one?
Oh, okay. Stat of the day. Here's Tilly in Bloomington. And here's...
Jerry won 60% of his games over 25-plus years, was one of two men with 1,000 wins with one franchise, was the fifth NBA coach with 1,000 wins, was the longest tenured coach with one NBA team and 15 straight playoff seasons, and never won Coach of the Year.
Thank you, Tilly. More phone calls coming up. Get ready to close up shop. If you're watching on youtube.com/The Dan Patrick Show, once I turn off my microphone here and we go to commercial break on radio, you can watch Paulie and myself walk out to the Traeger grill and sample that pulled pork that has been cooking for 12 hours. I think it's going to be good, Paulie. What do you think?
You and I have been fasting for 3 hours, so we're ready.
All right, we'll take a break. Last call for phone calls. We'll close up shop. Fritzy's got his scoreboard competition. I don't have a winner yet. So I don't know if there are any winners in this contest. I think we're all losers in this.
That's the way to tell it. Thanks.
Yeah, we'll come back after this. Are you a Pittsburgh fan, sports fan?
Yes, I am, absolutely.
Oh, your Penguins went down last night, too.
You know, I can't complain. They gave us 2 Stanley Cups in a row. So that was an incredible run, and it was just hard to lose to the Capitals. You know, there's no love lost there.
But also, so Steeler fan as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, have you met Ben? Have you met the Steelers?
I met Roethlisberger a while ago when I was little, but it wasn't too good of an interaction.
Why? What happened?
You know, I respect him as a player, but he wasn't exactly the nicest guy. But, I mean, you know, he was being bombarded by people, so I understand.
Did you ask for an autograph?
Yeah, I was in like 6th grade. We were at at like a Hoops for a Cure thing at my high school, and you know he was getting bombarded left and right. So I mean, I completely understand. It was them coming off there for his first Super Bowl.
Did you cry?
No, but to be honest, I stopped rooting for the Steelers for a little bit after that.
Wait, did you become an Eagles fan?
No, I didn't. I was a little petty and rooted for some teams in our division, and then wow. You know, I've reverted back to the Steeler fan.
Wait, did you root for the Ravens?
No, I was a Cincinnati Bengals fan for a little bit.
Oh, well, that's okay. They're not any good, so that.
And they never were any good when I rooted for them.
Oh. Maybe you should offer Ben tickets. You know, after you beat Boston in Boston, then you come back, just reach out to Ben and say, hey, let's kind of make this relationship a solid one. I'd like to invite you here, and I'll spend time. I'll have some time for you after the game.
I'll see what I can do.
Yeah.
But, who knows? He probably won't be too interested.
Okay, I'm not a coleslaw guy.
Okay. A lot of people like coleslaw and pulled pork.
But I would rather have pickles.
I'm with you there, too.
Maybe Tyler, the moderator, could get me some pickles. And I know I sound like I'm being ungrateful.
No, it's personal preference.
But this looks like it's been simmering for Well,
It's juicy. It's not dry either.
hours.
That's a good thing.
Well, that's the beauty of the Traeger grill.
So many times people ruin pulled pork and make it all dry. But yeah, coleslaw's big. Pickles are great, even on the side.
And there they go.
Yeah.
Pickles.
I think there's a little mustard in the coleslaw.
Maybe I
love.
See, now I gotta. Nobody can have any pickles because now I put
Did you use your fingers?
Yeah, well,
I would. You could feed those to me from your hands. I would eat those. Even next to you more than next to anybody.
I'm gonna try this. Man,
feel good about yourself?
Mm-hmm. Oh. That's me. I didn't see the whole floor.
Wowzers.
Mm.
I'm gonna go a little sidecar.
Wow.
Yeah. It's so juicy. I mean, really, really, you nailed it. So this is like a hot vinegar. It's got a little kick to it. It's not like a hot, kind of that hot chicken taste where.
Wow.
Beautiful. We have to do another segment.
Man, oh man. Close up shop on this Memorial Day weekend, and as I said in the first hour, if you see a member of the military, past or present, please acknowledge them this weekend, and not just this weekend. Well, Fritzy has pitched another shutout. No winner on his scoreboard contest. The numbers
disappointed.
were 11 and 17. Todd?
I thought this was gettable.
All right.
Okay, the clue for 11 is I miss you, Tommy.
Okay.
Who would be missing Tommy these days?
That would be Julian Edelman's birthday today.
Born on this day, May 22nd, 1986, jersey number 11. 17, a little trickier, but still gettable. Wait till they get a load of me is the clue.
17 load.
Wait till they get a load of me.
Is it W-E-I-G-H-T, wait, or is it W-A-I-T?
It has to do with the something that Jack Nicholson said in the movie, the character he played, when he said, wait till they get a load of me.
Was that the Joker came out on this day?
Yes. Well, Jack Nicholson played the Joker, who's known as the Joker in sports.
Oh, no. Oh, wow. Novak Djokovic. Wow.
May 22nd, 1987, Novak Djokovic is born on this day. And how many Grand Slam titles does he have?
17.
17. It took quite a little extra thought, but I still think it was gettable.
Thank you, Todd.
You got it.
Thank you. Have a good weekend.
You too.
All right. Couple of phone calls here. This day in sports history, Paulie. What do you have for me?
Dan, while still in high school, 2003, LeBron James signs a $90 million endorsement deal with Nike. He was just graduating high school. I don't know how I could top that. 1975, Joe Namath passed on a $4 million offer to play with Chicago in the WFL.
I
did not know that.
I did not know that either.
That's it.
In the words of Chris Myers, that is something I did not know. Man, this pulled pork is good. But we just had a question. It wasn't a debate or anything. It wasn't controversial. There's coleslaw on the pulled pork. And I said to Paulie, I'm not a coleslaw guy. I like pickles on the pulled pork. And Paulie is a coleslaw guy. Let me ask the Danettes who aren't here. Seton, I'll start with you. When you have pulled pork, do you like having coleslaw or pickles?
Well, it kind of depends on the mood. I'm sort of an all of the above, but usually never at the same time. Sometimes I just like the pulled pork. Sometimes I'll throw some pickles on there. Sometimes it'll be coleslaw. So I'm sort of all of the above. Okay. I guess that's a non-answer, but I like them all.
I'm used to that from Todd. Todd?
I would grab coleslaw a lot faster than I'd grab pickles for pulled pork.
Man, I don't know what's happened here, but I've become obsessed with pickles. Like all of a sudden, I'm like, man, I miss a pickle. McLevin.
Man, anything sounds good right now as I go off to eat my tuna fish sandwich while you guys are eating pulled pork. This is a cruel question. I'll take anything.
Yeah, it is pretty good. Yeah, Paul.
I did a little research. Most, especially in the South, barbecue places, coleslaw and pulled pork is very common, but they'll let you know, so it's your choice. They rarely will put it on without alerting the customer. It's a big debate.
Okay. A couple of phone calls. Alex in Utah. Hi, Alex. How are you?
I'm doing well. How you guys doing on this nice Meat Friday?
We're doing great. We're doing great.
Awesome. First time, long time, 5'11", and a blue collar 160.
All right.
So I had a question. With all the talk about the 90s and the Jordan era, being a hometown boy from Utah, Karl Malone has been one of my sports idols forever. He's unquestionable Hall of Famer before his career ended. 14-time All-Star, 14-time All-Team NBA, and in my opinion, probably one of the most underrated and overlooked players because he played in the Jordan era. I was wondering what your thoughts were on either him being the biggest casualty of playing in the Jordan era, or who you thought was the biggest casualty of playing in the Jordan era.
I would say Patrick Ewing, because Ewing lost a national title to Jordan. Start there. It was Georgetown losing to Michael Jordan in North Carolina. And then after that, even when we thought the Knicks had a better team, Jordan somehow was able to beat them. Reggie Miller would be up there. Cleveland Cavaliers are up there. Charles Barkley is in the mix. But yeah, Malone is there because he went to 2 finals and lost to Jordan. And he won the MVP that year, that last year, 1998. And he deserved it. I know Michael said, you're going to give it to Karl? All right, well, let's see if he can win a title. Same thing with Charles. Those guys won MVPs in years where they went to the finals, and Jordan used that as extra motivation against them. Kyle in Pennsylvania joins us. Hi, Kyle. What do you have for me?
Hi, Dan. A gorilla strength 6 foot 233. I want to talk over the past couple of weeks since the documentary's come out about Jordan has been, him smoking cigars, him drinking, all this stuff. So with the new athletes nowadays, and especially, as done by Tom Brady or Tampa Tom, how he takes care of his body, the whole thing, do you think he could have played longer or played better had he not, I guess, smoked cigars and drank so much?
I think it's a reasonable question to ask. We just see the finished product of winning 6 titles. I don't if he's 4-2 in the NBA Finals, we are questioning his off the court dedication to the sport. He drinks, he gambles, he smokes cigars, he plays golf all the time. He's 6-0, and people don't question that. I don't know if it felt like Michael, that's who he was, and he was going to be the best player on the floor no matter what. I mean, he was the best player on the floor, and he was staying up all night, or he was playing golf every morning. He would play 36 sometimes the day of a game. It's just, he didn't sleep a lot. That's just who he was. But I don't know how much greater he would have been if he wasn't smoking cigars and drinking. Because I don't know how much he drank. I know that he smoked cigars. But I never heard anything about Michael, as far as being a big drinker. Ben in Indiana. Hi, Ben. What do you have for me?
Hey, Dan, first time, long time, 6'1", hard 185. Yeah, sorry if I'm asking a question that's already been addressed, but why was Michael staying at a different hotel than the rest of the team? And especially, 30, 35 minutes away from the rest of the team.
He's one of the first athletes I remember doing that. Now, Cal Ripken did it, but Ripken told me that he stayed at a different hotel because he knew that would take a little bit of the pressure off his teammates with signing autographs. Because if you found Ripken, he was going to sign your autographs, but he said that he stayed in a separate hotel so his teammates wouldn't be inundated, that the people who wanted an autograph wanted Cal's autograph. They would try to find out where he was staying. Michael was staying 35 minutes outside of Salt Lake. And it's probably, for survival, a necessity for Jordan. He had to be he had to get away from this, because if you saw the traveling circus that followed him, and downtown Salt Lake, those are tight quarters there, finding out where somebody is and then trying to get in there, or somebody's going to pull the fire alarm, or, things that happened when the Lakers played the Celtics. People are going to try to find you for whatever reason. And I think Mike needed to get away. He would take usually the top floor, take the penthouse suite, and that allowed him, he could decompress with his friends. And the guys who were his bodyguards, Ahmad Rashad, Quinn Buckner, these were the guys who were always around Mike. That was his inner circle. Go around the room on what we learned on this program. Todd, I'll start with you.
Chris Webber, surprised to see Michael Jordan smoking a cigar right before a playoff game against him.
Chris Webber, if you didn't hear the interview, he's wonderful. He's one of our favorite guests. He really is great. He just tells stories. McLovin.
We've heard the story before, but C-Web kind of sold out Calbert Cheney in this story about Jordan.
Okay, yeah. Seton O'Connor.
Chris Webber's only superstition is not to have any superstitions.
Which is a superstition. Paulie?
Chris Webber's barn looks like a mix of the Hoosiers gym and the Hinkle Fieldhouse at Butler.
Beautiful. No matter what happens to you, want to make sure your loved ones are taken care of. That's why LegalZoom has made it easy to set up the right estate plan without leaving your home. Take care of your family today. The right estate plan at LegalZoom.com. My thanks to the Danettes, but more importantly, the guys behind the scenes as well. Have a safe weekend.